Awesome sign up.
There you go. Time to throw it up.
We're hiding Sonya. Oh, we're live now. Hey, welcome, friends, to the Westmouth Variety Show. Today with Alien Tom and Red Sonya from
Native Alien.
Yeah, what's up? So, few quick clerical things. We have a different setup today, so I don't know if there's anything hanging around the office that's, shouldn't be on the air or not, but don't see it. Anyway, one camera instead of multiples going, so hopefully our audio won't be switching back and forth all the time, which is awesome. And yeah, so Native Aliens here. What's going on? Yeah, we were talking about all the Kelly. We were talking about all the bad stuff before we went live. So now we're all going to be like mom because we don't have anything juicy to say. Right? Anyway, so as you know, we've been working a lot more San Diego folks into this thing this year. This is, as we were talking before we got started, this is episode 30. Well, it would be 39, but we missed the last one, so 38. So we've been doing this for 2 years now. And do y'all do a podcast of any kind, mix show, anything like that?
We have an iTunes podcast, but it's just live mixes from our parties and stuff.
Parties and stuff. That's cool. Kelly, you listen.
Archive. Yeah.
You listen to some of those, right? Kelly, you were telling me.
Yep. I was listening to those this past week.
Are you turning into a techno fan?
I like techno. Yeah. I
More on that later.
It's not all techno. It's house too.
I have everything on there because but there's a lot of house and techno. It's kind of our theme.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I met you two. When did I meet you two? When was the first time we met in person?
Oh, man.
I heard of you before, and maybe we saw each other at parties or something. But probably the first time we hung out at all was maybe this year, earlier in the year. I think.
Yeah, probably maybe
met you at a bar.
On the bar. Yeah, it was a lot of parties. I remember we went down to a party you booked Sonya at like a daytime.
I think that was before or after Contact this year.
I think it was after.
Might have been after.
Yeah, the Contact thing. That's a thing.
Let's jump right in and talk about Contact. I know for sure we met there.
Contact.
Tell everyone about Contact.
I want to talk specifically about you interacting with Contact and how I really enjoyed the way you did that. First, you saw the post. You said, "Hey, that looks cool." You said, "Popsicles for everybody."
I did, didn't I?
And
pops. You're like, no, don't say that.
Wrong word. And yeah, you're totally right. That's why I researched them. I was like, make sure we got the official ones. And that company said they will totally send us.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
You actually contacted the company?
Absolutely.
No way.
Yeah, the timing of it wasn't. It was that we were a little bit late on timing on that, and they would have totally sent us boxes of those popsicles.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So.
Yeah. That's your sponsor. Thank you.
So
we're looking for that next year. Then.
Yes, we are. Yeah, well, next year.
I had no idea. I knew nothing of this. Except for that I had said it. That's funny.
Yeah, you said it, and I like to set things in motion. It's what I like to do. So you said that. Let's set it in motion, and they responded.
Cool. So we'll see them next year.
We'll see them next year.
Which is coming up. So what is going on are we into contact planning yet?
We are. Yeah. We are in deep contact planning right now.
We have to go soon.
What can we say that we can hear first right here?
Here you can hear first that we're doing it. So you guys, Contact is happening. Native Alien Contact.
The weekend before the 4th, so is it June?
So June 29, 30, and July 1.
Yeah.
So we were going to put on the flyer June 29, 30, and 31.
Just go ahead and get in the mood.
So yeah, we're excited. We're in negotiations to finish it all up to take the entire hotel. So we're gonna this year.
Is this all in San Diego?
This is not a San Diego party. This is San Diegans and Los Angeles, and abroad, partying in the desert, which is the Coachella Valley by Palm Springs area. So it's kind of,
yeah, I think it's. That was the first time I had been. There's some history to it, which second because I think it's got some good history to it.
Yes.
For me, I was just like that was my first time. Partly also because I hadn't really even lived here when I started down in Mexico. Usually we hit on a few events that people have coming up. So that was a perfect segue to that, huh? But I want the history of contact because that's your big thing, I think, that I know of each year.
Well, it started. It was his birthday party. We went down to this hot springs in Mexico with like 25 to 50 people, and then everyone's like, "Let's do this. Like, let's come back with friends and bring speakers and make a party." Before it was a more renegade style with just a couple of speakers on the patio of the hotel, very intimate. But something about being in that kind of environment, especially in Mexico where we really had to unplug. People's phones didn't work, and you're in the pool, so it's like you get a chance to really hang out with each other. Because I feel like sometimes it's hard to unplug, even. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. Unplug. I can't.
I know.
I got a new phone, and I'm like, it's over there. I left it over there, so I'm not like.
Another computer as you're saying that.
I'm like holding a computer. There's like buttons everywhere in here. It's like, dude, will you stop fidgeting?
So
yeah, I did there. What, 4 years?
Yeah. It's all kind of a blur. I'm trying to remember.
It's more than 4 years. It started off. We started off. We did 5 years in Mexico, and then we moved it in 2016 was the first year here in California. So we're at the new resort. So 2016, 2017, and then the third year will be coming up here.
Yeah, we got through the venue, and he came back after the last contact in Mexico, and just first thing he did was started Googling and looking for locations, and he found a whole hot springs town, and we never even heard of Desert Hot Springs. No one even knows about Desert Hot Springs. It was like a little,
wait a minute,
little place that people don't talk about.
Yeah, and I'll usually go explore some strange stuff when I go to if I've it's
over
that way. Desert Hot Springs.
Such a spirit name,
right?
We've got. I think there's some aliens joining us.
I was like, I think that's me.
Is that you, Kelly?
I turned my volume down. I think it's me. How did you? Is that how you both started doing things? Like, what is Native Alien? Where did that come from?
Let's go back further. Okay, Tom.
Go way back. We just started in Mexico because we all love Mexico.
Well, Native Alien, yes, Native Alien does go back. Native Alien goes back to a point when it was Native Alien started out as an accessories company.
Okay.
We made accessories for traveling DJs, professional traveling DJs. So what we made, one of our flagship product that we started off with was a record bag, 2 different sizes, that you could fit on the airplane with you. You could take to a corporate gig, and you could take to Burning Man and wash it, and use it over and over and over. And it was, at the time when we started Native Alien, I was a traveling DJ where you carry your records, and I was doing a lot of corporate stuff, and it just wasn't milk crates just didn't look right when you rolled into Nordstrom's.
Thankfully, I do not have any milk crates in this place anymore.
It just didn't look right. And then when you were flying, it was really difficult. You either had to have a really heavy crate. It was, so I kind of bridged the gap there with Native Alien. We did that for a few years, and then that kind of I just kept the brand and the website for years. And then when Sonya and I started doing some parties together, we said, well, what about Native Alien, the brand? You have the website, you own this brand. How long have you had it? Why don't we use that as an umbrella?
And there might be a couple old school people that recognize the name.
Right.
Like me.
Right.
I swear I remember it from the accessory.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had DJ Dan, Donald Blod. There was a lot of DJs who swore by our stuff and used the Native Alien bags.
Sure, I didn't connect that, of course, with you two or you, Tom, previously, but I know it's familiar enough. I know it's not just through the party. For me,
it's not. It was a thing.
There's things where you're like, oh, that's a cool brand, and you're like, I think I heard that before, but you haven't. But that I
I
know.
think he had his business card on his license, his name and phone number, and we were. I think it was because of contact. We needed a place to put the event information and a place to channel, you know, how to get there and just, you know, because it was taking people to another country on a road trip. It's definitely interesting.
So that was the first time I did it.
So that's when we brought the Native Alien
That's when we started
back
using
and
Native
the
Alien,
website.
the name
so,
again.
Yeah.
Was for the party, and that, you know, kind of brought us. And then we started doing stuff in Mexico, and it almost had a, when we told people we were going to do a party in Mexico in 2011, people looked at us like we were. Some people looked at us like we were crazy. There was no way they were going to cross the border, to go down there to do anything. You know, and I was like, well, wait. It was their reaction was so opposite to what our experience was. That Sonya and I started using the Native Alien website. We started building content on there to show people
There was
other side of what was going on.
Tasting, you know?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So
you know,
we're
there's
doing
vineyards.
yeah, there's vineyards and wine tasting.
Well, and that was kind of that time that would have been so 7 years ago. That would have been right around when like all the "Don't Go to Mexico" stuff was in high gear, right?
Well, it
was
had
winding down at that point.
it was winding down at that point.
Yeah, but still, you know, there was a time where I didn't know at some point, you know, like college kids were banned from going or something. Like there's some weird laws that are telling people not to go, and like when that used to be, anyways. But
The damage was done at that point. So you guys built that up.
Yeah, go ahead.
She was just saying you built that up. Yeah, and then they moved it to California.
Yeah, that was a natural progression. It was just outgrowing a venue, and
it was like more like going on a vacation with your friends, and so it's still the kind of same concept.
It still felt like that
It's still
to
hot
me.
springs. Like the place in Mexico, even though there was a lot of camping, we still had a small hotel, so we still always had a hotel room at the hot springs in Mexico. And some of our friends camped, but now it's all a hotel party. So we're kind of transitioning our concept, and we lost a few campers, but then we gained some people that don't want to go camping, didn't want to go to Mexico,
I think it's like
that want to go on vacation with us. And,
it's like the perfect hotel party.
yeah, now it's like, now we're totally like.
I
love
still
the
felt like
rooms.
it was friends. You know, I didn't really know a lot of people there when I went to this year, first time, but I definitely left with some new friends.
Yeah,
I mean, it was great. It was a great
kind of what it's
environment like that. Yeah.
yeah, we watched that happen. I think that's one of the reasons why Sonya and
Why we
I
keep doing
bring
it.
people together.
And it's an affordable party. You know, it's the place is reasonable, even if you do some other stuff around there. There's some kitschy stuff going on. I went to some museum of like fool's gold or something. There's like 4 or 5 things, you know, that you can just, you know, if you need to,
Like Cabot Museum.
if you need a little break from the pink flamingos and the what was it, a penguin raft, all that stuff. And
We went on a spot tour in Desert Hot Springs, and there's a lot of little boutique hotels that all have a vibe, and you know, like it's an interesting little town, you know.
So what's the deal with the actual hot springs? It actually is sitting on top of hot springs, right?
It's hot and cold. It's a very interesting. I guess there's not that many that have both hot and cold springs.
I don't know.
It's one of the only places in the world.
Yeah.
Huh.
Can you go in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they control the temperature and they still put chemicals in it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still like, there is still, you know.
It's not like Mexico where they literally, that stuff bubbled out of the ground.
And you just had it, yeah.
Like Mexico was a special magic place.
That's kind of why we had to stop going to Mexico. It's like we had one pool, and when you get to a couple hundred people, it was like, You don't want to go in on the second day. You're like, oh, we gotta go. Just kidding.
I went to there was a hot springs on the way. On the way to Burning Man and back. I usually I go through Bishop, like 99 up that way. And there's a hot springs place there. I didn't go over there because I didn't have time. But there's also, interestingly, there is they call it, what do they call it, like Fossil Falls or something like that. You ever heard of this place? So basically it's waterfalls that have fossilized, like lava falls that have fossilized from a gazillion years ago. And so I did go, and I cruised over there, and it reminded me of Desert Hot Springs because it's very dry, no water. So the opposite. But you go over there, and it's like, they're like ravines, but it's all black. It's that obsidian or whatever that like super black rock is, super slick, and it literally looks like all the waterfall water just froze in time. Like that's what it looks like, because it was just all lava, but it was just flowing. Like, and then you like start reading the little history signs and stuff, and you realize that whole like area, that part of California was all like, you know, lava. It was all like a great fire rolled through there with lava everywhere, and you know, some undersea. This is way, you know, like way back. Where the aliens came from. Do you have an obsession with aliens?
No.
No. How did? Well, the native alien would have come about a long time ago. So
Yeah.
Was there no like Area 51 or any association, or it was just
not really. It's kind of a natural progression. So, as a DJ, I've had different names over the years, and specifically, I was Indian Tom for a long time.
Now we're getting to the good shit.
Yeah. So I was Indian Tom for a long time. I got that name.
You just hit the buzzer, Sonya,
Yeah.
if I'm going down the right path.
So that name, that was bequeathed to me. That name at a party on the Indian reservation, and it stuck, and it was fun, and I liked it, and I'm a DJ, so I've been around doing fun stuff. So at one point, we were making flyers and stuff and laughing, and we put on a flyer, Alien Tom.
Okay.
We're joking. We're just saying, you know, I was, you know, Amphibian Tom or Armenian Tom and all these funny, just little names. They're just like, whatever. And so we wrote on there Alien Tom, and I said, I want you to put Alien Tom on the flyer. And so we put the party together, and
I played a pretty good set, and it ended up being my DJ name, Alien Tom. So then they had the native alien part of it kind of comes in when I created the accessories company. Call it, you know, what are we going to come up with? What's these ideas? And I had an experience when I was a kid that when you ask me about aliens, I think it's kind of funny. I'm like, to me, alien just means a little bit different. I grew up here in California, in San Diego. When I was a kid, aliens were undocumented workers who would come across the border trying to find work. And where I lived, the border was very porous. And so there's aliens were in our backyard sometimes. And aliens were in the park, and we were giving them Doritos, or aliens would run. Hundreds of aliens. You can look at the videos. Hundreds of aliens would run across the border at one time.
No, I mean, I remember this growing up, but I got to tell you, I don't think I ever associated that with this.
I saw that, and also my dad does business on both sides of the border, and we had friends on both sides of the border, and so I would have some friends of mine that I would see in the United States, and other friends of mine I didn't see in the United States, and I'd ask my dad when I was a kid. I had a hard time understanding why some kids could come, and some people that we knew in Mexico could come right across the border and go to Costco and everywhere else with us, and other kids couldn't at all. And my parents didn't really explain too much. You know, when you're a kid, what are you going to tell them? Oh, well, they can't afford visas. They're the mechanics' children.
Right.
Oh, well, those are the dairymen's children. Of course, they all have visas, and they've all gone to school over here, and they're going to go to USC. And so the native alien concept it's a long way of telling you how that became. You know, it's not necessarily an alien. You know,
like the
yeah, it's not a schwa.
It's not just a Skrillex alien.
It's not that. And at the same time, if you want it to be, please make it that. I really.
Well, now that I think about it, I've never seen it. But you know, I guess I thought, because for some crazy reason, I guess I just thought like Contact, Alien.
We're also behind Contact too, so
you know. There is a story now. Flash, so check this out. So we'll explain this real. I'm doing a lot of talking here, but
it's okay.
That's what this is for, right?
Thank God I don't have to talk.
Right. Totally.
They're all tired of hearing me.
Well, we went down. What Sonya was telling you, like when we went down for my birthday to Mexico, when we told everybody we were going to go back again, the following year, Sonya and I were like, well, we're gonna go back. Well, we're gonna make a Facebook thing, or we're gonna make some sort of promotion. What are we gonna, what do you want to call it? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Let me. And sometimes I just will freak out. I just typed into Google. I said July 8th. Google, click, because my birthday is July 8th.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking. I was like, Sonya, come here. Look at this. And we're looking at July 8th, and I'm like, okay. And if you look it up, you're gonna see July 8th coincides with World Disclosure Day. I could not make this up. July 8th coincides with World Disclosure Day. World Disclosure Day is the world government, or a group calling for all the world governments to disclose what they know about UFOs to this point. Apparently, July 8, 1942 is when Roswell happened. So when we said, what are we going to call?
Yeah, baby, we're getting into Roswell now.
Yeah. So they said, what are you going to call your party? What are you going to call
Alien
Alien Tom's birthday
Yeah.
party? And I'm like, well, what do you mean we're going to call it? We're going to call it Contact. I didn't even miss a beat.
No way. No way.
Didn't even. I just said we're going to call it Contact, and then we announced it. I sent out the newsletter and everything, and then I got a PR news release from Los Angeles that says "Contact in the Desert" with George Norrie. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. So Contact, we had our party, and they had their party, and I have an email that says back, hey, should I send them a cease and desist? And they did Contact in the Desert.
We were in Mexico, I think.
But we were in Mexico, so
I'm looking up because there's another Tom, and I'm gonna make. This just popped in my head while you were saying that. What band is Tom Morello from? He's a guitar player for.
Alien Ant Farm? No.
Was someone big? Blink 182.
Rage Against the Machine.
He's Blink 182. I think that's him.
He's in Rage.
Oh yeah. So I think it's him. But I was listening to speaking of aliens and things, and for anybody listening, if you want to trip out on some alien stuff, go listen to the episode, the Joe Rogan podcast episode with Tom. I think it's Tom Morello. If not, then it's the guitarist from Blink 182. It's one of the two. But he has a whole like hour and a half. It's the only time I've ever heard the thing end and Joe be like, "Do you believe any of that?" Like, they go deep. They go deep into like somehow he's formed a consortium with NASA. NASA approached him, I guess, because of his celebrity status and interest in aliens to help them work on some sort of futuristic projects. The one thing, yeah, it's out there. The one thing I did, it could all be true. Who knows? You just shake your head, it could be true.
Truth is way stranger.
Listen to it, and it could be true. You just never know. I was fascinated just listening to it. But what I was going to say, I did learn from that I thought was, at first I thought they were crazy, and this is what led me to believe maybe some of the rest of it was okay. But they started talking about CubeSats. Have you ever heard about these things? Cube satellites? So they call them CubeSats for short. But apparently, not the guitarist, but some other person way back, like a legitimate rocket, engineer guy, was a satellite dude. And I guess satellites cost like $40 million or more or whatever to put one up, and build and put them up. And so he was like, well, let's approach it a different way. Instead of like trying to design a satellite that can do anything and everything that you want it to do, let's instead start with a cube, like basically the size of like a Beanie Baby box. Mm-hmm. And the goal will be that you can only send that, like that size. So you got to fit whatever you want in that size box. And apparently he kind of revolutionized the concept of satellite making, because then it started this craze where everyone thought, oh, okay, let's think about the best basically single use case that'll fit in a CubeSat, and then we'll send that thing off. So they got it to where they could do them for like, I don't know, 800 grand or something. You could put a CubeSat up. And so you could send a lab project, you could send whatever. And then most of them are cameras and stuff. And I guess apparently at one time they were going to try to put thousands of these up and have it almost be like, how crowdfunding and all this stuff works, like modern era, networks, right? And so you'd have thousands of these little CubeSats up there, but all taking their own little pictures. And so you get this different perspective of space at any given time. But they only last so long, and then they start to fall. And then, but the irony was they were talking about the thing. And it was like you'll get good photos of Earth as they go around, and then you'll know that it's going to die because the photos will start getting closer and much clearer, and then it just goes dead serious.
Yeah.
CubeSats, check them out, folks.
Wow.
Definitely didn't hear it here first, but you might have heard it here first.
I totally heard it here first.
But I heard it on Joe Rogan podcast first, and then I went and checked it out in more places. All right, dude. So Sonya, what's going on with your world? You're like DJ everywhere.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
It comes in waves. And,
Well, let's jump
know.
into Lady Blush. Tell us about
Right.
Lady Blush, because I like that it's DJing and ladies, and that
I
should be
know.
obvious, but maybe
I
it's
know,
not.
right? It's something that started like 10 years ago that I've kind of started off as a weekly, moved it around. Right now, it's a monthly at Blonde Bar, and I'm coming into my 12th one where we did a full year
It's
of
only
monthly
this
events
year.
there. Yeah, I started in January.
I swear, I feel like it's longer
So it's
because
been
you
fun.
promote like a beast.
Thank you. It's,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, but
Yeah,
you know,
it is. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably why people show up.
it ain't easy being cheesy, but you know,
Because it's good music and you promote.
I try. You know, people want to party when they get there. You know?
Yeah.
So, and I've been enjoying. Lots of people have been showing up. You know, it's been a lot of fun.
Take note, folks. Throw a party, promote it, and have fun. Let's do that again.
I know every now and then I stress
Repeat.
out about it. I'm like, it's just a party, right? So like, you know, every now and then when I have a slow night, I kind of beat myself up about it, you know, a little bit. But you have, you know, sometimes.
But it is kind of unique because if I maybe get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've at least seen an event for all of them. But I think it's 100% female DJs, right? It's always ladies only, right?
Yeah.
On the deck.
Yeah. So I try to gather them when I find them.
But I don't know that not that I would expect it to be any different, but I don't know that I've ever heard. I've seen nights that are all ladies and some theme like that, but I don't know that I've ever seen a party that's all ladies always.
Right,
the
I
whole
try
time.
not to promote
Which
it
I
as
think is
like
cool.
I don't really like to say all female DJs and try to
Yeah.
promote that shtick. It's more like it's really becoming.
It's not. You're all
to me,
great DJs.
I know. Well, I told my
You're all
friends
great.
like the Lady Lushes are really like all my girlfriends that are on the dance floor that
Yeah.
supports and creating a comfortable atmosphere for them to be at, and you know, like feel like. A lot of all male parties happen all the time. They don't brag about
course.
that, so
Right,
it just
yeah.
happens. You
All
know what I
dude
mean?
lineup.
All dude lineup.
Again.
For the
Again.
umpteenth million time.
You know?
Well, I'm not trying to make a huge of just that part, but I do think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I've been doing this a few years, and I think that I do think it's important to point out something like that because, you know, maybe not for me. I'm not pointing out not so much because of the shtick of it. I just think it's rare, and there is a lot of talk about why there aren't more female,
So I
not
try
just
to-
DJs,
that's
but
why I
probably a
wanna,
lot
like-
of things. you
So I
know?
want to give these girls a little like love and support that like I feel like I know how hard it was when I started. I remember
Yeah.
a lot of people not helping me.
Yeah.
Just would rather watch you kind of
Or
just
help for the
fuck
wrong
up and-
reasons.
I don't know. Or just
Yeah.
exactly. Or you know, I could go on and on about all the
Sure.
different scenarios of how
Yeah.
I've been treated or whatever, and I just want to have just kind of support a little bit more and give like I've been giving good time slots to the girls that deserve it because a lot of times
Yeah.
you're just supposed to open all the time. Or, you know what I
Open,
mean?
close, close.
I don't know. I just been
If
like,
you carry
you know,
speakers, you can
Right.
open.
it's just and it's been fun. I've been we've got blessed with a few good guests this year too. I was happy that Senator Collins came and played this year.
Yeah, that was
That
awesome.
was like a treat and really inspiring for me to see how much people love her and people really are supporting
Yeah.
the concept. My girlfriends really like it the most. They think it's cool. I feel like how it really started is I was doing a weekly and once a month I met a couple of girls and I was like, let's all do a night together. And so when it was like, and then it went really well. And then I did that once a month, every last Tuesday. It was a Tuesday at Brent's Tea Lounge.
Oh, okay.
And then every time I did the girl lineup, it was like, bam, and everybody would come out and support it. And kind of somebody was like, you should do that. Like
Yeah.
over here, like you should just book all the girls and have that, And we had a friend that provided opportunity at Airport Lounge, which is in El Camino.
Oh, okay.
I did every
I've never
Thursday.
been there, but okay.
And I started with a girlfriend of mine, and then she took off and moved, and then it kind of became me as the resident, just holding it down and booking everybody.
So you're doing it before Blonde, which was just this year.
Yeah.
But,
It started like 10 years ago.
right.
Before
No,
that,
I didn't realize that length of history was there.
So I've done a lot of one-offs, and sometimes people ask me to secure lineups and stuff, you know, because like people come to me like, who's the good girl DJ? Send them my way, you know. And so you know what I mean? I
like
say,
me.
Yeah, exactly. You did ask me.
I'm like, hey, who can
I
I get
just
to come
send you a couple
play?
links right off
Well,
the bat.
you know, like it's funny. Like I've heard, you know, just through the general, you know, music space talk, social, whatever. Occasionally there'll be a flare up about. Usually it starts with one of the big magazines or online pubs about, you know, this issue of different treatment, XYZ, the sets, the pay, whatever, all of it, right? And I think, you know, there's I've definitely heard some of the ladies, you know, the popular ones, not popular ones, whatever, kind of say like, why should it even be a discussion topic? Well, you're right, it shouldn't, but it is, and so like, right, like it's a strange thing for a guy because you don't like if you're not super biased or like you just kind of want to, like me, I just kind of want to understand the perspective, and then not you know, like, you know, try to help be part of whatever it is I want to be part of, whatever it is you're trying to do. Just like I would some dudes if I really liked what they were doing, you know. But yeah, your techno night, it's cool. Do you think you could, or have you thought about, you know, like, well, like I said, Sandra Collins rolled through, and that may be the biggest guest in terms of like,
she's kind of superstar. I like her a lot.
Colette,
Colette played, right.
But I've been really focusing on locals. You know, it's a small place, and I really was trying to, and I was getting a lot of. I thought it was really cool that I was being able to pack the club with just local girls, and me being a headliner every now and then. You know, like
it's a lot less headache.
But you know,
like I mean, if someone rolls through town, they're like, and it works out, that's easy too. But man, trying to book, it's complicated. Trying to track down people and book,
But it's been fun. It inspired me. I have a few artists I want to bring in.
You think you could do, or are you gonna do a bigger venue once a year, maybe, or something?
We're looking at that. It's kind of something 200 or more, please.
I'll work the door.
Right.
I'll take you up on that.
I know, right?
To get good door people, you know.
I know it. I did it for. I've done it for several of the Camp Charlie Unicorn, you know, Unicorn Stampede, Unicorn fundraising parties at Spin and a few other times, and it's hectic. Yeah. I am definitely no veteran at ticket taking.
Yeah.
And dealing with that stuff.
The new technology is really making it nice, Eventbrite.
Yeah.
For as much as it costs,
but you always get like what blew me away was like you get. I didn't think about the volume of people that were going to show up with scenarios.
Yeah.
Oh, so my friend bought the ticket and sent it to me. I got the email, and then it's like, but you don't have your ID. No. My friend will be here in a minute. That was the craziest one. I couldn't believe how many people showed up where it's like, yeah, we bought the 4 tickets together, but one of us isn't here. And they couldn't understand, wait for your friend, and then you all come in. And people just didn't want to hear it.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, they might not be here for an hour. And they're like, they would flip it around and make it like
no, their friends
her job, like her fault. She's like, hey, I'm just taking the tickets. Stand outside. Now I know I'd have to have like 2-3 bouncers.
Right.
You know?
I like you said, we've been using Eventbrite, and they have an app. We've been with schools. I can use my phone to add people on the list as it's going, and I don't have to, you know what I mean? It's easy to
keep track of it all.
Keep track of it, add people at the last minute without having to, you know, invite anybody down.
Yeah, totally.
It's been interesting.
So I've had a couple of interesting conversations with you about Burning Man and those things. Have either of y'all been? Well, I know, and my talking to Tom was, you know, that it you know, it can be crazy. There's a lot of opinions around it. What we were talking about when I spoke to you last about it, Tom, was that you know, because it wasn't a super popular thing for everybody, right? And you know, maybe that's I don't even know that it was for me. I mean, I went. I've been 4 times. It was the last 4 years, and this last time I was kind of, for lack of a better word, burned out on it. But you know, I wasn't going to go. But then I got involved in that project with the 747 going out there, which has its own share of mixed emotions about it. you know, people and I didn't even realize that. Like I met people that were really just like builder people, you know, like they build projects and art cars and engineering stuff and things. That's how I got involved in it. And then as time went on, I was like, would mention it to a few people if they were asking if I was going to go. And then I would go online and like look at various things. And I was like, huh, I didn't realize like people actually got upset about, you know, like a expensive thing being hauled out into the desert, you know? And then I found out there's a fair amount of like polarization around not just that project, but projects like that size, like $1 million art car. You know, I don't think that's how big. You know, a 747 is expensive, and I don't know all the details of that project. You know, I don't think it's $1 million project, but you know, there's a couple things out there. Like there's a thing called the Mayan Warrior. It's this huge, ridiculously awesome. It's like a bus. It's like a city bus that you can't even tell it's a bus. You just guess that it's a bus because it's that big. And it's an art car, you know. And each year, apparently, they completely redesign the whole outside, which completely covers the bus. So I don't know. I don't remember what it looked like. Sometimes it's like a mix of animal and just sort of. It's got a lot of Mexican influence to it. Kind of made me think about it since y'all, you know, had some parties and did some stuff there. And we all like Mexico from here. It's fun. And but anyway, I don't know if it's a drug lord or a movie star. There's all these different rumors about how it gets funded, but I've never met the people that fund it, so I don't want to, you know, pin them one way or the other. But it's an extravagant piece of work, and it's like, oh, okay. So anyway, there is definitely like there's an ongoing like thing about, you know, that kind of stuff being at Burning Man, and it makes me scratch my head a little bit because, you know, it's interesting because the other half is kind of like, well, you know, we got a lot of San Diego burners. Got a good burner contingent down here, and one of the things I don't know, like, is I think its intent is to be diverse, and maybe it was in the beginning, but I don't think it's all that diverse.
Right.
I think there's a lot of free expression, but anyway, but y'all haven't been, so any particular reason? I mean, I don't mind the good, bad, and the ugly, but you know. Well, I don't know. I mean, like people, you know,
Burning Man is this thing. You know, for me,
I'm still trying to understand it.
Exactly. I'm not gonna disparage Burning Man. You know, Sonya said that she wouldn't mind going sometime if she wants to go. You know, I'm not gonna say I'm never gonna go or anything. Yeah. Although I did say that the very first time I ever was experienced Burning Man. When Burning Man organization came to us in San Diego, very early on in their experience, you know, while they were doing their parties, they came to us. They asked, because I was involved in a group of people who were doing some really big stuff. They came to us to ask us for like. For our experience, you know, like some advice. Yeah. You know, one of the things we told them, I remember saying specifically, yeah, porta potties, guys. I remember that. That's one thing that we did say. At the end of their presentation, they explained to us what they were doing, and you know, we gave some good whatever. We talked back and forth, and then at the very end, I remember specifically raising my hand again and say, "Where is that party?" Like, yeah, well, it's this dry lake bed. And I was like, alkaline dust? And I don't, you mean like really, like the real, I'm not going to your party. And so I always thought.
It worried me when that first time.
I just not interested. I'm just, I don't know why. I just said, I'm not going to do that. And you know what? Every year I see people come back with their equipment and their gear. And I can tell immediately. Crazy. Bicycles, amplifier racks, anything that's been, I can tell. And I've been to so many of my friends' houses. I'm like, oh, look, they've been to the burn. The first time
notice how you see no trace.
I noticed. I looked around. I'm like, I don't see any burn dirt.
It's not allowed to come in here.
Yeah, I bet.
I take those guys, the jellyfish. I take those to the. I've taken them out there twice. Those were actually I got an art grant to make those. I got an art grant for Burning Man to make those. Yeah, and I I take them to the car wash and I hang them up in the bay and pressure wash them.
Yeah.
Now they're back. They're nice and clean. But yeah, anyway, but back to that. Yeah.
So that was my experience with it. And then over the years, of course, it's changed. It's still in the same location, so that hasn't changed. And so I kind of discount it right away, immediately, just my own personal bias against the Playa Dirt.
Yeah.
And people tell me, oh, it's this and that. I'm like, that's fine. And that's just not for me. And I feel that for me, I'm a music person.
Yeah.
To me, I go to gatherings of humans to hear music. And sometimes people will talk to me while we're all hanging out, and I'm like, hey, I'm listening.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that's the only reason I went was music. I knew nothing else about it, and I didn't think naively that it was a festival in the sense of EDC or whatever, because the people that drew me into it, I have known them a very long time, more than 10 years, and so I knew they weren't gonna just be like all super excited about some bullshit, basically, right? So I was like, all right, we'll give it a whirl. So and the interesting part for me being a tinkerer was that I was going to get to work on these art cars, and just explaining this whole thing to me was a little bit out there in the first place, like just a unicorn, Camp Charlie people that were friends for quite a long time got me into there. Anyway, so like I just thought, wait a minute, so yes, there's music, and I'll go DJ on a unicorn that rolls through the dirt and spits fire. All right, like we need to try this. So that was my introduction to it. There was nothing I don't know if it's hippie or whatever the variations of expressionism and whatever go along with it. Like none of that was part of it for me. It was purely like, come DJ on this car and help put it together. And I was like, what I didn't know was all the dust and the other shit that went with it. So that's why I wasn't even going to go last year. Then and I've always kind of glamped it. I have a trailer, which is I'm not going to take again. I've taken it there 4 times. It's like an old vintage. It's a 1952 Airstream, like really old, like the silver Twinkie. But you saw it at the. Oh no, you weren't there. We had it at the last. We had it at the Camp Land party, but that thing is like, it takes me a solid month to clean it, and it's still never clean because I take it quite a bit up to like San Onofre and Encinitas, those campgrounds. And every time I drive it up there, just 20 minutes, I'll park it and I'll go inside and I have to clean all the windowsills and counters because the dust is shaking out of the skin, on the inside. Yeah, can never get it out. So that'll be awesome. Aren't you look forward to that one day?
Yeah, just and I love what people do.
I always see him. I feel like,
oh my God,
out of his hair if we took him to Burning Man. You know what I mean? So.
That's true. That is true. Well, Kelly, you've been what, 3 years?
I've been 3. Yep.
3 years. Yeah. And I will say, Kelly and I, we've been friends for a few years, and we were friends before that time where we both went. But there was some good times. Like it's all a thing. It's like just so much there. It's hard to like. I think your experience can range broadly once you're there, And we had a great year. Weather, there was really no dust. It was very light that particular year. But I remember the thing I'll never forget is those mutant bicycles. There was like a camp that just made these. Basically, they just made large versions of bicycles, and then various things that rolled that you could get on. I guess that's why they called it the bicycle thing, whatever. But yeah, there was one that was like it was basically like 2 big wagon wheels. They looked like bike wheels, like standard bicycle wheels, but just large.
They were
like
huge.
8 or 9 feet tall, I guess. Yeah. And then there was just like an axle between the two, so it just kind of looked like an axle with 2 really big wheels. And then they had these like swing harnesses you would hang from on the axle, and there was pedals with a like a chain that went around that single axle. And so basically you're just free swinging and you pedal on these things. And so, but you're like this when you start kind of looking straight up. And when you start to pedal, like your inertia like pushes you both kind of back and it starts moving forward, But it's not like there's a 5-to-1 gears or something on it. It's like straight up, you pedal, the axle moves, and it's hard to get it started, and then it starts going. And And then they have like each of you has a break, but you only get one side of the break. So like left, right. So if you're hauling ass and homie lies to you and slams on the brake, then the thing starts spinning around.
No, you start, like, we both start spinning around. Like,
yeah, if you both do it, you have to coordinate it. But if you both do it, you can be hauling ass down the dirt road there, and you 1, 2, 3, and both hit them, and you'll flip over the whole axle. Super safe.
Yeah, but I was flipping and you weren't. You were getting mad at me. He was getting so mad. He's like, I want to flip. So I let him flip.
Yeah, we can get going fast enough to do that.
It was good times. Yeah. I think the whole point is that you go and you do something like that and you come back, like you were talking about with, sorry, I have a cold, but you know, you come back from something like that and you maybe don't go with a bunch of friends. You may know a couple people, but you come back with a whole bunch of new friends, and it's a desert party, man. It's cool.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I've experienced enough of like our culture to not feel like I have to go. You know what I mean? Like, and I know so many friends have been to Burning Man, and so many people have assumed I was like, I've been interviewed before, and I laughed because I don't know if I was in this group called Black Underground. They interviewed me. They're like, so what was it like? What was your favorite experience at Burning Man? And I was like, I haven't been. And they're like, they took the whole part out of the interview, didn't talk about it, that I hadn't been. I was like, oh, you don't want to let people know I didn't go, you know?
That's
like,
what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
We're gonna scratch it. We're gonna be like, they're not year-round burners. We're gonna cut the show.
We're not. We throw a party at a resort.
Actually, I just found out.
They have room service at our party.
I mean, I'll take room service too. I'll take both. It's fine. Let's do it.
In fact, you can probably get it at the Big Imagination Camp that I was at, that's one of those examples of where people go off the deep end of that. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I guess I wasn't there early enough to really ever, you know, have that be the reason I was there. So that's kind of like for me. But kudos to everybody that's maybe 15 years of their life. You know, you get a lot of, you know, that's how it goes, right? You get 10, 20 years. I mean, look at us with just music in general. Like, if you just extracted that and were like, oh, no more of that, that would be weird, right? How weird would that be? Yeah. Speaking of music, I did a little digging on you. You've done some stuff when you were either you were near or in LA or working with who's that guy? We talked about it a little bit, but what's his name? Jason Bentley. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason.
You know, he's kind of a California dude. Done some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. He's a California dude who's done.
Yeah, he's kind of a star.
Yeah.
He's a California dude who's done some stuff.
I think he was involved with a little movie called Mad Max.
Yes. Yeah. He did some of that stuff.
And I think he got. I could get this wrong. Do your own research, kids. This show has no facts. But disclaimer: I've been hearing these podcasts like introductions, and people be like, I just want I want to be clear about one thing before we get started. This is not a show for legal advice, financial advice, or personal advice. I'm like, well, what the hell are you having the show for?
No advice here. Don't listen to things.
That's what happens when people from like CNBC start doing podcasts. Is like they have to do all these disclaimers. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
But back to Jason. Yeah, I think he was involved with that, and I heard him on a panel with him and Junkie XL, who I think did the actual producer role with Mad Max.
Yes, Jason and Tom started working together. I was at a time that I was working with Jason, early 2000s.
Is Tom Junkie XL?
Tom Junkie XL.
Really? Okay.
So Tom Holkenberg, I think this is like I said, don't do your own research, guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Tom moved into an office that we were working with called Machine Head, and he moved in from right out of Holland, right into work on film style movie stuff. And Jason at the time we were working on The Matrix 2 and 3, the music for that. So that's when I worked with him.
What's he like?
Jason?
I mean, what's that like? Man, was he famous then? I guess so. He's working on
I mean, you know what? He's
done something, right?
Jason Bentley, what can you say about him? He's like one of the coolest dudes in California.
Yeah.
Probably one of the coolest dudes in electronic music. You know, he brought the Chemical Brothers to the airwaves.
Okay.
Bjork
to the FM airwaves. He brought. He did K-Rock.
Was he a radio guy in
he
LA?
He is still a radio guy in LA.
I kind of know him mostly. Heard of him mostly through Crossed, and he was always the festival, right? I think he either curates it or he's clearly involved with the talent because he plays it and he does something.
He is a spokesperson for a lot of things, and so yeah, I'm not sure what he's doing with that. I haven't worked with him in a while, and he is, really responsible for bringing electronic music to the United States.
Interesting.
In a big, major way. In a major way. Oh yes, major way.
Wow.
Well, because radio is
radio. He's an FM radio guy.
FM radio in LA for years on a radio show called Metropolis.
Okay.
It was every single day of the week at 8 o'clock at night in Los Angeles, and he played. Now he's doing it. I guess he's bringing it back, and then also at the same time he's also doing KROQ after hours on Saturday night. Okay. So every single night, Saturday.
He's doing something called morning.
And so now he's in charge. Yeah, he's in charge of Morning Becomes Eclectic now. That's new.
Morning.
And he's program director for KCRW. So it's dude, he's the man. I got a lot of respect for that.
I saw him speak at. He spoke on a panel with or right after the other Tom Junkie XL guy at the EDM Biz conference. I was there for a couple of days last year. It's like the same week of EDC. It's like the week before EDC. And it was awesome listening to him. It's like one of those things where I was just like, oh, like you think you've worked hard and you're just like, oh, it's exhausting just listening to this dude thing he's working on right now. That's awesome.
He's a pretty intense person, and he's responsible for things that we don't even know about, like that you might not know about, like the Billboard electronic music category.
Tons I don't know about him.
The category.
Yeah.
Electronic music, whatever, was brought by Jason, like to the Billboard, to the Grammys and all that stuff. He's working so hard.
For me, quite often, it's like who would have been the first electronic artist that you outside the U.S. that you might have heard and thought, oh, that's electronic music. Like for me, it was like Carl Cox. Definitely probably one of the first dudes I ever heard come from another country here and play like a crazy party that I was at. Before that, it was a lot of like DJ Dan, Simply Jeff, Terry Mullen, a lot of these US, even Richie Houghton. I had seen all those, doing their tour, other than DC at the time. They had a fantastic rave and techno scene there. And there was no bass music yet.
Well, you mentioned Jason Bentley. Jason Bentley and I walked around a party where Eat Static and Moby and System 7.
And Moby, that's one I heard.
So Moby, Eat Static and System 7 and Moby and a few other artists were playing. That's really one of the first times I saw a bunch of Europeans.
Okay.
And I'll speak for myself. We sat there and I looked at these from England.
Dave Seaman.
I kind of was like, wow. Okay, I get it. I mean, I bought this guy's records. That's cool, but I don't understand why we're all, kind of their celebrity factor was like not there for me.
Most of them are not introvert or extroverts.
Well, why are we? Yeah, that's true. I just that was my response when I saw him. I was like, wait, and I think maybe because we're spoiled here.
Yeah.
If you look up, I personally feel a little spoiled by living the time that I did here in San Diego's, watching what we know of as our scene.
Yeah.
Become what it is from literally nothing. Before this music, before house music, were something that we know of.
Right.
There was a whole lot before, and it developed over time, and I watched it firsthand. And so that for me, I that's why I come out when I think about parties. One of the best things you can say to me at one of my parties is, "Wow, this feels like the old days." There was a little bit of an old days vibe, and what they're talking about when people say, "Oh, the old days," what they're talking about is people having fun.
Well, it's
I know that sounds really subtle and subtle, but it's people having fun for the sake of fun and not having any preconceived notion of what it means.
Well, Kelly comes from that background too. We didn't know each other at that time, but we both did kind of cut our teeth in different channels, but in the DC area. And that was where I really got that was the first of that whole thing to me. And it was early enough to where it was probably just coming off of like what you're talking about in San Diego. It was probably just, it was still a very, very community, small underground vibe, not popular or easy to have parties, you know, very like, not to be cliche, but very like you had to know somebody. And it was like, you just showed up somewhere, right? It wasn't going to be a website or a Shazam metric to tell you if the party's popping. Right. It's just like you just went to the spot where everybody went every Friday. That was it, because that was the only party. And everyone knew that. Like, if you wanted to go hear electronic music, otherwise, for anybody like interested in producing music, for example, once a month, if the mail came on time or it didn't get lost, you would get a Future Music magazine with a CD on the front. And that was all you got in terms of samples or whatever for making music. That was it. Like, otherwise you had to go play with hip hop equipment, you know, like a TR, you know, an 808 or something, which is as much a piece that is of the history of all electronically created music, not just the EDM umbrella. It really isn't used for anything anymore. It's referenced a lot, you know, but that's interesting. Interesting time. And then it just exploded, man. Like, and maybe too much. And then do you feel like you just go back a little bit? Like a little less fluff and a little more?
It's definitely, now the digital era definitely, I feel like, changed the game a lot. Just now that anybody's laptop and music can be a DJ. There's so many things now. Like,
I'm ready.
I know, right? See?
I'm ready to go.
Put it back.
I can just look at it now and unlock it. My Apple Watch, I can tap it and it'll just start playing.
Yeah. So, but now we're, you know.
There's an app that just automatically mixes for you. It's AI.
You know, but
it's AI. You know what? That app will not pick the songs.
I mean, it's going to have good taste.
I agree.
Humans to put things together. And
it's getting scary though, because I could tell it like, what do you think about this concept? I don't personally, for me, I don't think it'll ever provide the same enjoyment that I get out of live DJs. But we do have things where it's like, they're starting to like profile people's like. The original purpose of this thing was to like be able to, if someone dies, to sort of be able to have them live on as their, you know, avatar version of them, right? So just study all the data of their life. It wouldn't really work for the three of us because we don't have our whole life online, right? Like we may have we may have a lot of social bullshit online now.
Mom didn't have Facebook.
Exactly, like, oh but you know, there's like pages out there, right, where the kid's born and they start a page for them. And so that's just one example, like Facebook, right? But even if that wasn't going on, like, so this concept I was talking about, I was just up in San Francisco and talking with some people. I was actually there talking with a group of people, to other people, about artificial intelligence and a couple other topics. But they were talking about, you know, the displacement or people, you know, being displaced by not just robots, but just by AI, like any kind of computing type thing that's, you know, fake, zeros and ones, right? In the sense of not a table, right? And that's what this discussion was about. I thought it was really interesting. There's some music people there. There was some construction people there, and engineering people and other stuff, developers, software developers. And that's where I was kind of really getting like the deep dive on what they're talking about. And they're literally talking about like, even if it's not a Facebook page or something, it's like you just have this digital shit being gathered about you now, whatever it is, whether it's how you drive your car or what music you play. Because right, there's things now where if you do use your laptop to play, right, like, you know, there's plugins for Serato or Rekordbox or whatever that will essentially record not just the songs you played, but all the things you did, you know, with mixing and volume levels and all of it. Like, if you have the right collection of equipment, that'll all be not just recorded as a mix, but you could obviously play it back and fix it all if you didn't like some parts of it, you know, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. But just all of the nuance that you use to create it. So an example with a DJ is like, as they collect all this information and study it, and of course someone's going to build software, that the idea would be that if you recorded all the data of Red Sonya playing 100 sets. So let's just say you have 100 sets that you've played that are out on your Native Alien podcast for the recordings, right? But you had all of the as much information as possible captured, right? Then in theory they could get closer and closer as you do more and more over time. In theory, they could have Red Sonya avatar,
world, and I could be
like the Blue Man Group. You could have Lady Lush in 20 cities. What do you think of that? Think it'll happen in our lifetime?
Computers don't sweat.
I can see Lady Lush in 20 cities.
I agree.
I can see us.
Computers don't sweat. We like to watch people sweat.
Sonya's ready to go on tour.
Yeah, I'm not against what she said. I'll do what she says. I'm down for that. What I'm saying though is I feel that we are still want to feel it. We still want to see it. We want to watch somebody, even if somebody's up there and using the technology the way we can now, and they're totally using it in all the best ways, which is what you're supposed to do anyway. It's still somebody up there. Still somebody standing there sweating.
Well, it's part of it. Right?
Yeah, you're like,
part of it
even if
sure.
I stood up there and played an entirely pre-recorded set. Let's say I press play on one deck.
That never happens.
I couldn't even imagine. I could totally do it though. Press play on one deck, right? And if I just stood there and danced around, people would they would tell me I played a great set.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Not one person. Well, yeah, I've seen people do it. I've twittered at people.
Yeah.
Talking to you, Moby. I fake. Yeah, seriously, dude, stop doing that. Anyway, the fake DJing. I've seen that.
If you're doing that, don't do that.
Yeah, if you're doing that, don't start.
It's kind of an insult.
No matter
it's an insult,
I
bro.
watching Moby play a pre-recorded set at Coachella and it broke my heart. I was like, really, really.
I've heard the reason. This is crazy. So
you can take pictures and.
Well, no. I've actually heard from some. It's third hand, but I would say relatively reputable because they were people at the EDM Biz conference, which is mostly just music business people. And I've heard that some of those large festivals, they actually require the artist to do that. Like it's not the artist's choice. They basically say, look, you're the famous guy, but if because we have all these things we have to do, so we have to coordinate all these ridiculous fireworks and owls flying around. No disrespect to EDC, that thing's pretty awesome, although I've never been, but it looks fun. But whatever, right? All the shenanigans that were never ever part of this in the beginning, because they have to coordinate that, and because the cost of that is so big, that's why they require people to do that. That's just what I've been told, which is interesting. Right? Because what would you do? What would you do if you build your reputation?
So if you go to that type of show, you have to know that that's the kind of like.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
If you're pretending, or why even do that then?
Well, it's a big
performance.
I agree.
It's like, it's just someone standing in front of their performance.
Well, I think it's one of those things where. Well, I think it's one of those things. It's a weird thing the way that it's all developed, right? Because the other side to that is it's like, okay, well, why don't you buck that system? If you're the famous person, why don't you just be like, no, And I'm sure some do. And probably it's like this negotiation with how big you are and all this kind of nonsense. But there's only like, if you look at I don't know anything about EDC or Coachella or any other in particular, but if you look at a festival that size and there's 1,000 DJs, over 4 days, let's just say, or whatever, 400 DJs, it's a lot, right? Between the Heineken tent and the main stage and whatever, it's got to be 400 or something like that. Like probably 5 have any power at all in negotiation, right? Like, Claude Von Stroke, Skrillex, and like Avicii, if he was, whenever his heyday, right? But they would be the ones that you would think probably have any power to negotiate anything. Everybody else is basically like, we're going to put you in front of 20,000 people, play a pre-recorded set, or we'll move on to the next guy. Like it could be that simple the way it's happening. which is weird, right?
And that's why we don't go to those events.
And by the way, total speculation, but I do know that it happens that people play recorded sets. We all know that.
Yeah.
So I guess as a purist, in a sense, I want to believe that there's some good reason why, you know, like, okay, they're going to pay you 25 grand. It's the most you're ever going to get paid. And so you agreed to do a pre-recorded set because that will get you exposure. It'll get you 10 grand and exposure to the whole world. And then you'll tour for the next 10 years.
No one really cares, really.
You know, right?
No.
Like,
there's so many other reasons why people are going to the event. It's not really to watch how they do these two things together.
You can't see them anyway. It's like the sea of people.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's like,
the only thing you'll know is if the music turns off.
Yeah.
That's how that
turns off. People are in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
There's 30,000 people in front of that, so it makes sense to
start in the exact same spot than when it turned off.
Yeah.
You know, these big parties.
Damn, I can't do a rewind.
Yeah, right. The big parties are, you can't. Yeah, the big parties are.
The CDJ doesn't
a lot more
work.
money.
It's just locked.
Yeah. They're not even plugged in.
You can sit there and spin it. It doesn't do anything.
They're not even plugged in.
Are we live? Yeah. Oh, we're live.
Yeah.
We're live.
Memorex, guys. It's Memorex. Don't forget. The Chemical Brothers were Memorex the whole time. I remember watching them and they had both the recorder. They had DA88s or what they're called, or they're task cams.
Yeah.
And they had two of them.
Yeah.
One playing the show, another one playing the show, and they were totally ready to go. And they had a switch on stage so that if anything broke, they could just switch to the other deck.
Oh wow!
And so they had a backup of the thing, and they pressed play on the two decks, and the show played, and that's how the Chemical Brothers did their show.
Did you do production or work with some of these larger events? Have you done some of that?
The Chemical Brothers' first U.S. appearance was in our living room.
Oh. Okay.
They had a party. We call it our living room. We had a party that the venue got shut, and we had already paid them in full. And so we had a party at our house.
Okay.
And it was about 1,000 people, and it was one pretty legendary San Diego party. And it was the first time that the Chemical Brothers played in the United States. It's when they got their cease and desist. No, she wasn't there. It was an interesting, to see that. I was involved with some parties called Narnia.
Oh, I know.
Global Underworld.
Yeah.
Underworld was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I worked really hard with them as a promoter and as a DJ, and so it was a fun time. And I got to do some really great stuff. We brought the Crystal Method.
Yeah.
Their first time out of Vegas.
Cool. Before they moved to LA, or did they?
Yeah, this was before they moved to LA. They were in Vegas. Their first gig outside of San Diego was at Soma, which is a venue still here in San Diego, different location.
Reminded me, by the way.
I've got some pictures.
This is a Christmas gift from the Crystal Method.
Oh,
Ken Jordan sent it to me. So shout out, Ken. Thank you so much, man. I just got it the other day after I came back.
What's up, Ken? Hi, Scott.
Yeah. It's all of their. They did
this is a 20-year anniversary.
Yeah, they did a. So I'm showing it because I think there's like a couple left, or you'll probably see them on eBay. This is an unboxing. Yeah. Great word. It's a Rarities, all vinyl. It's their last out. That's their last album.
It's sealed.
It's sealed. We won't do all that, but you might recognize some of these.
I'm gonna send a picture of Scott real quick.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Ken sent it to me, and the funny thing is, it had like the from addresses from Las Vegas, which I thought was really awesome, and then all the way back to, Vegas.
Yeah.
But it's all I think some remastering and just making it all awesome, and they went to a lot of trouble signed inside, sweet.
It's very cool.
Obviously,
this was one of my first EDM.
Yeah,
235.
Yeah,
out of 1,000.
Yeah,
21. Yeah,
that's cool.
Limited edition.
Very cool.
He asked me for my address, and I was thinking like, He's like, I'm gonna send you a Christmas present. I'm like, what? And then this shows up. I'm like, sweet. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very
fantastic.
Yeah. I got a little bit of
so big shout out again, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, man, giant, you guys.
You know, they on that note, if you had last year when we did these shows, like I always talk about them. I always find some way or another. Usually something going on. But those remixes that I did, so they may be an interesting story for you. So one of the songs I put out, Ken just like fell in love with it, like bring back that funk, and he like had his assistant hit me up, like on email, or social or whatever, and oh yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, well, all access pass, cool. And they were like, oh hey, we want to use that song on our Sirius, XM radio show. And they're like, is that okay? I was like, yes.
You're like, nah.
And so I just thought, that's freaking awesome, like, and that alone I was just like, that's awesome. And then later on, I realized we were both going to be in Miami, Winter Music Conference, and they were actually, I was not DJing, I was just going to go down there, and they were headlining some Future Sound of Breaks or some big party, and they were just going to be there a couple of days. So I realized it, and I hit up their assistant. I was like, hey, can I meet him? I've never met him, so I was like, can I meet him? So she's like, I checked it out. I said, yeah, they're cool. Ken will, I'll be at the hotel. Come to the hotel at a time. So Kelly, the irony is that Kelly actually went with me the next time. So the first time was when I just met him, and then so Ken comes down with his wife, and just super cool. Yeah. And and I'm just like, I'm just this dude hanging by myself, like, what's up? We talked for like 10 minutes, and he was just like, cool. He's like, yeah, we'll put whoever you want on the list for the show tonight, whatever. Just text us, blah blah. I gave him his number, and then he's like, anything I can do for you? It was something like that, And I was like, yeah. I was like, there's 3 songs off your new album I'd like to remix, and he's like, no problem. And he just, I was like, like in the lobby of like a hotel in Miami, and I'm just like, wow, this is probably like how stuff happens, Just super cool. And he's like, oh, here, I'll send you the, here's my number. Text me like when we all get back. Hook you up with the, the people that manage all the stems and licensing and all that jazz, and just made it happen. That's how that came about. Okay. That's why that gets a place on the wall. as long as I have a show, that gets a place on the wall. So that may be some history for a few folks. I'll tell the Dub Pistols one another time. Yeah. But shout out Barry Ashworth, as long as we're giving shout outs.
Yeah, what up, Barry? Team Native Alien, you know what's up. Barry's a long time Team Native Alien, of course.
He's awesome. He's awesome. Have you ever seen Dub Pistols play live? Not DJ, but play live? I have not.
No, I knew they were doing something like that. I don't know. I just didn't see it. But, being in San Diego, you don't see a lot of stuff.
I don't think they've ever played in the U.S. as a band.
Right. Yeah. It's I don't know. I like I like all that stuff. The Breakbeat is a big part of who I am. Now, not so much as then. It's part of my foundation.
It's a small part of my foundation.
Yeah, it's a pretty big part of my foundation.
No, I agree with you. It's a huge part of my. Yeah, it's an absolutely massive part of my foundation. Dang. Someone probably just spit up their beer or choked on their toke when I said that.
Right. Well,
but things have changed, man. I do a lot of other stuff.
Well, yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Techno's been a big part of it.
Yeah, of course.
And the Crystal Method, it's interesting you brought them up because I've been in contact with them recently, and you'll see some information from me soon.
Awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll talk off.
Nice. But nonetheless, big shout out.
Huge shout out, guys.
Gene, everybody.
Yeah. The whole team out there. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. That's definitely been some good times. And so, I don't talk about it every time we do this show, but I do when it does come up and we talk about it, I think it's super important. It's one of those things where I think it's like, there's no question, like those guys like completely changed like all music things for me. period. Like they played that song like at the beginning of their sets for like a year around the country, and that's the biggest song I've ever had in terms of all the things, sales, Shazam, whatever, you know. And so that is why, except, you know, until I meet people in person or we get to do something, you know, different or interesting, like the to be announced spot at Contact, where I was like, cool, I like this. We'll do something different. You know, and like I might, you know, it was a lot of fun. I had a great time. Thank you again. Yeah,
really,
thank you so much.
Really a surprise for us.
Yeah, it was a great surprise for me to play something completely out of what I would have normally had a lot of, you know, definitely would have had a lot of breakbeat influence normally. Like I hired you out of town, something like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we have some breakbeat fans.
Yeah, and Native Aliens, we like a lot of different styles of music as long as it's techno.
Yeah. No, yeah. Exactly.
I'm teasing.
Like house versus techno over here.
Yeah.
The point is, I thought it was great, and I mean, I've played a lot. It was even a good influence because I just had never really. It wasn't that I didn't like the music. It's just when you. Part of why I gave the history behind that was because they told me when I one of the third or fourth times I met him, and I can't remember who said it, but one of them was like, "Well, you bet," it's something like a Dylan quote or something. They're like, "You better like the song that makes you famous because that's all anyone's ever going to know you for," something like that. And it's totally true. Like, so you have to respect that, but at the same time, kind of move on. And I think that's kind of like the busy child for them was like, no, but you know, like that's what, like if a taxi driver or Uber driver is going to know the Crystal Method, they're going to be like, oh, Busy Child, Vegas. And they've done like 8 albums since then and toured the world 17 times. You know what I mean? But that's just going to be the connection. It's an interesting thing. It's something I learned from them. Clearly, Bring Back That Funk was not near that big. It didn't get a Gap commercial. It was not the beginning of electronic music, but it was big for me. And it was interesting having it happen kind of around someone like that or because of someone like that, really pushing it out, you know, to their fans, because it kind of made me watch a lot of, or learn a lot more about their history. And that's something that, you know, they've had a whole career where you have to respect Busy Child in Vegas, right? But they've done so many different things, you know? And that balance is always interesting. Because you see some people backlash and be like, no, I'm a dubstep DJ now. Don't do house, or vice versa, right? They'd be like house and the dubstep got big, it'll be a dubstep DJ and no more house, or maybe not a house, or, you know, and it's like a line you've seen, right? Like, well, there's people that draw a line where they're like, I don't do that anymore.
It's like Cascade when he used to be Deep House, and now I can't even listen. But then he came on this Christmas album, everybody's like, what the heck?
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to pick fights. I'm just saying.
I have some records.
You would see that more and more. I think you're right. Are you seeing it less and less?
I think we're seeing it less and less. I think we're seeing more people, because electronic music's been, you know, at the forefront for a while now. People are trying to get their what they like. People are trying to get a taste.
Yeah.
They're developing a culture around it, and so the house people are doing the house nights. The techno people are doing the techno nights.
It's totally different vibe on the techno.
The breakbeat people, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't do the breakbeat people. Yeah.
you mean me and Omega Squad?
Yeah. Exactly. So you two, we don't know what to do with you guys, but you guys will do your own party once in a while, and everything gets
two of us. We just set up the turntables in this other room, and like all seven breakbeat fans in San Diego come over, and it's awesome.
No, I think there's a lot of breakbeat
fans. Turn on LED strips.
We have a lot of breakbeat fans.
No, we do. No, I'm totally kidding. Hey, it's been fantastic. I mean, I've been able to do some other things personally over the last, I'd say, 2 years, and really work that into a number of shows. What happened? The reason it happened was when after all that support from Crystal Method, I was doing all these shows that were really breakbeat shows. So I go to a breakbeat show, I'm gonna play breakbeat. Yeah. But then it got a little bigger than that, where some festivals would call, and it's all multi-genre, right? And so for me, that was a really interesting door to be like, oh, cool. A lot like Contact was, right? It's like I knew that was not a breakbeat party, right? So I'm like, this is sweet because I can do like,
music.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to a genre.
But it's certainly not about not liking it. right?
Right.
And most of what I've produced in the last year or two is not that traditional style that was that era of the Bring Back That Funk and, true breakbeat.
Everything I make has some sort of little bit of breakbeat in it.
It's swing, man.
It's great. Tom has a sound in all his songs. He makes some sort of sound that, well, you can hear all your influences. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of influences.
What about you get? I think we talked about it once before. Any studio time you spent with Tom, or no interest?
Yeah, no, I'm interested. It's just thinking I'll do it.
You're too busy promoting.
Well, I don't like to use the word
DJing.
too busy. I don't like to use the B word. You have to. I guess my own priorities aren't there. Because I am focused on a lot of the events and DJing, and it's kind of hard to do all the things.
But that's working, so it's kind of like
it is.
And
you're
a total nerd.
I'm inspired by Tom, and we have a friend that we work for sometimes. He'll send us remixes. I kind of like projects, give me something to work with, and I like doing that. I like arranging. There's certain things I like about production. So I like working on remixes with him as a good way for me to get started on things.
No, it's awesome.
I made one song once, and it got released right away, and I should have kept making songs.
Making more.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of sounds on the Black Friday sale and made a song called Black Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, put out.
Why not?
Richie Hahn played it.
Awesome.
But then that was a couple years ago.
So you're really grinding it. You're just grinding that angle.
But I'm definitely want to produce more. We have a cool studio. We have a weird setup, and so I learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
We've just been told to hurry up with the EP.
Yeah.
For the two of us.
Yeah.
So it'd be a Red Alien EP.
What do you like the most? What do you like the most about making music? What part of the whole,
making it work.
And
very easy for me to answer that. Very, very, very easy is making it work.
Yeah.
I can make it work. You give me the most complicated setup and all the things, and I will make it work.
Yeah.
To me, that's how
the studio,
the cabling, the setup, the phone, the way you set everything, the speaker placement, let's make this drum machine and that, and this talks with this, and everything's working, and that's to me that's a real art to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walk into studios all the time. I'm like, I move all that around and do something.
Yeah.
You come to my studio, you'd be like, I'm not going to move anything. I just want to work.
I don't get as excited about the gadget part, but in that sense, but.
Oh, you've got some gadgets too.
But I wanted to bring this one over here.
I saw that. You don't think I saw that?
Yeah, I figured you would. The rest is stuff you can buy, but I thought, I wonder if Tom's ever seen a Sonic Alienator.
No, I've not.
Good luck getting that one, kids. Yeah, so, but it's an example. I'm not quite as much of a gadget or cable person maybe as you. I really like writing songs for sure, arranging, and doing sound design. And I'm not super deep down the rabbit hole of sound design, but probably far deeper than I think, and just messing with stuff, whether it's, I like learning with these tactile tools, 4, 5, 7, 8, whatever, 100 knobs over there. Because you can definitely do all this, obviously in the computer. Ableton is my choice of DAW. And you could do, of course, you could do every single piece of this inside there.
Well, yeah.
But there's just something a little different about, the mistakes to me are different.
Everything else is pretty much mouses. They give the controllers.
Yeah, I run things just in and out of this. It's very simple, It's just an in and out, and so I just run the synths through it. And then start playing with knobs. It's like, whoa, that distortion is weird. And it's all you've got. It's kind of like the CubeSat, right? This may have a lot to do, this may be insight to my personality perhaps, but it's kind of like the CubeSat to me. It's like, that's all you have today to make something interesting, right? Because inside that laptop, dude, I can get lost for a week, beard will grow out as long as they'll all be the same. You'd be like, this guy over here today, he's like, hey, you wearing your pajamas? Not this, but the other clothes I had on, he's like, because I'm pretty sure you've had those on for 3 days. And I'm like, dude, but I haven't done anything with you inside here, so what difference does it make? I'm like, I don't smell bad.
Yeah, saving water, guys. So come on, we're California.
So what?
We're
environmentally conscious.
I think people change their clothes way too often.
Just turning knobs. All I do is turn knobs.
Kelly's like, be quiet. stop telling everyone about your lack of hygiene.
I mean, if you're just turning knobs, it's okay.
If you're turning knobs by yourself, it's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good. Well, cool.
I play a lot of sounds. I think it's where you get kind of overwhelmed, like picking out like my hats and like a million, you know what I mean? So like obviously to start with.
It's crazy. So
Yeah, I mean, how many folders do we have of hi-hats? Just hi-hats.
Yeah, true.
yeah.
How many, you know, whenever your friend's like, oh, I'll give you some samples I have. They give you 6 gigs.
They're like, I'm gonna give you my 10 gig of kicks.
Yeah. And you're like,
do a 10 gig of kicks.
use them. It's overwhelming though. You're like, I picked one. I'm stoked. Like, woo, I got a kick. I don't know. There's different ways of doing it. Like I watched a guy. I think if you want inspiration for music production, I think the drum and bass community is probably the most meticulous. Some of the people in that group, I'm going to shout out specifically TB and Calix.
Yeah,
those two. That stuff is bonkers. And I know TB specifically, and I've watched him work, and it takes a tenacity that only people like him will have. It's a martial art. It's a thing. Yeah. And it's not.
There's some of those dudes, and I wish I could remember the names of the few tutorial series I've watched, and I don't mean like a 10-minute one. I mean like a fucking, like a 2-week, 20 hours worth of them, and they get so deep in the sound design part, like it's deep. And I don't think in the drum and bass. And that's why I actually watch drum and bass tutorials. It's like not really to make it, but because like usually those people that are doing like a Sonic Academy course, drum and bass, whatever, it's going super deep. It's not like a writing and arrangement class. They're going to go off the deep end with like the snare.
Yeah.
From scratch.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Or which was the one I wanted? One of the ones I watched, they literally went out and they were like, I can't remember if it was their goal, but they were definitely having fun with it. They were like, we're going to go outside with a field recorder and record like random sounds from nature. And they went outside knocking on like they were really in nature, like not in a city, like out in like a field. They'd knock on a tree and record it, like shout into like a little, something that made it echo in a funny way. And then collected all this stuff. And then that's what the whole like course is based on, making that song out of all that stuff. And it's really fascinating how they take it from like some, outdoor random waveform noise and then combine that with what we can do in the computer and literally turn things like, into a kick drum that started as like knocking on literally like a wood rail near a creek, and turn that into a really seriously tuned instrument. Amazing.
Yeah, you're reminding me of a commercial I remember seeing. Me and FS, it was like the car commercial where they sampled all the car noises and made a song out of it. I think saw that.
No,
that was pretty
similar.
impressive to see those kind of cars in like a Toyota.
I mean, I'm sure there's there's a sect of people that do that, but it's definitely going on the deep dive. It's very different than like, with respect to what I do a lot of as well, which is producer packs and these kinds of things. It's still hard work, but it's just different.
I think I got a little discouraged. That first song I told you I made Black Friday was all samples, and then it was really fun to put together. What I think I didn't like about it is later hearing how many other songs were made with the same samples. One of my friends didn't understand. They're like, why does that song sound like yours? Is that like a remix? I'm like, because you know what I mean? I'm like, well, they probably
it's a race.
The same as I did. So I was like, I kind of maybe not want to use samples like that. So making sounds is kind of, or with the instruments and stuff, or instead of just pre-recorded recordings of it.
Well, and so those sound generators have definitely become like, it's come a long way. It's nice, right? Like now you can. They're still to a degree sample based, but they're using the sample is not in the same way that you drag it in the timeline and arrange it. It's more like the basis for the waveform generator synth or whatever, right? So it's like a level below like the other side of it. So it's like you know, and those are pretty cool. It's a nice middle ground, you know, because not everybody can get their head around, you know, a full subtractive analog synth, right? You know, or even has the money or whatever, right? So I think that's a neat combination where you know you're starting with clean sound and something that is gonna work in your arrangement in Ableton or whatever. You're not gonna have to do a ton of sound treatment and all this other stuff to just be able to go play it out, right? You can argue all day about the difference between, you know, engineering of Diplo and Skrillex and Wookiee and, you know, Claude Von Stroke, but it's all going to work.
I thought that was the same engineer.
It's all going to work. Well, my point is it's all going to work. You know, if you're using something that's natively digital in the first place. Whereas it's a whole, that's why that field recording element creates a whole different understanding and commitment to getting it to work, because you're not getting a sound that's starting that's okay to just throw in, exactly. You know, throw a little bit of mastering on it and good to go.
Yeah, because that's almost too easy.
But I think it's a nice middle ground, because why not? More people get into it. It's cool, right? If everybody had to go like, you ever seen Crystal Method Studio, dude? Yeah. So you know where I'm going with this. Like if everybody had to walk into a studio like their studio in LA and then sort of think, I really want to get into making music. And you walk in there and see that and you're like, holy shit, this is what I have to like learn to do that? Like you would, yeah. And maybe it would be for the better that people wouldn't do it. I don't know. But right, Tom? I mean, it's kind of like, you know, do you need all that? No, I mean, and they've collected a lot of that stuff over the years.
It reminds me of DJing a little bit. They don't really like need to know how to play beat-match records to be a DJ anymore. You know what I mean? It used to be like a required skill.
You're starting. You're gonna get to my. You're gonna get me upset. I've had people ask me. I've had people go on after me and be like, or just watch, and they'll be like, oh, you don't use quantize? You don't use the beat sync? And I'm like, what? No. The thing I like the most about the CDJ is that I can bring a USB, so I don't have to, you know, lug that, as much fun as it was. Mm-hmm. But that's all I really use it for. I don't use it. Like, do you use it for much else than just a platter that lets the song play and then mix, right? You mix. Yeah. You look at me like, yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying. It's not that way with everybody.
But I feel like, well, I mean, the turntables didn't have digital readers that tell you, okay, this is what this tempo, this is this tempo. I mean, now, like, you can.
That's true.
It's like it's gotten a lot easier to DJ than.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You know what tempo.
And I do use the little tempo. I do look at it.
I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're like, well, tempo, and you put it the same. Like, you couldn't do that before, unless you have like a mixer that had to like.
Well, unless you were the wizard that could read the little dots on the side of the 1200.
It still doesn't mix for you. You're right.
Were you ever able? Did you ever get into that? Did you ever know how to do that? The 3 dots on the thing. Supposedly, you're able to use those to determine the speed of the platter.
Mm-hmm. You can use them to determine the speed of the platter. The thing is that it doesn't matter what the speed.
So
of the
if you knew the BPM of the record,
yeah, you can.
So I would always tap mine out and I would put a sticker on it, the BPM on the record itself. Like that's old school, like, you know, how you know what it was. But you, well, no, because you still didn't know. It's not like the CDJ where it literally tells you what the current BPM is playing. All you knew was the BPM of the record at 0.
When is at 0? Yeah.
No pitch. Yeah. So like, give me a little leeway here. You know, not much, but a little.
I know, right? There was math to it.
That's how I got started, though, was doing that, because I couldn't be matched. So at least I would know that if I got 2 records that I thought were tapped out as the same, I knew I could at least put those at 0 or with the same pitch and be okay. And then those dots, that's when I got into trying to learn about those little 3 rings of dots, and they apparently those tell you. Yeah,
they have a third up and third down.
Never heard anything about this.
It just doesn't. Yeah. It's just not. Yeah, I can see it from here. They're just not. But it's not. It's just not something I ever use for DJing, and I don't ever really want to go back to DJing on vinyl. Not interested. That's not where we live now.
Me either. I don't either.
I'm glad I got the experience
But for
that kind of DJing.
But for anybody who's never seen, a turntable, it has a dust cover not to protect it. It's really just because it never gets used.
I mean, even the CD player right on top of it.
Yeah. See, look, they're
it's
3.3% and 3.3% on the dots, and then plus 6% when you're on the top. And these are the dots here. So the light here shines on the dots, and then when the dots stop moving is when you're at these whichever one. So when the dots in the middle are not moving, let's just plug it in.
I never even knew that.
Holy shit!
Like
we'll get like 1 million hits. People will be like, "Dude, they had this spaceship on there."
Yeah. So you go to 0. So the dots should be the big one should be not moving.
Yeah, so if he changes the pitch, then you'll see one set of dots will start to stop, and then the others start moving. Yeah, see, the big ones are starting to move now. So at some point, one of the other rings of dots will stop. And then it means that it's at that amount of... It's
tempo change.
Yeah,
no one's doing this. The only Mix Architect. There's a guy named Mix Architect. That's his DJ name. He was in Thailand. He worked for Alan and Heath. And I think he was the only one. He said his father was a mathematician and made a spreadsheet. So if you had a turntable, you had a song at 124 on one turntable, you could look at the spreadsheet and it would tell you where to put this to match it for the next record. It's kind of crazy. We don't do that anymore. You guys
can't quite see it, but it's right there. And so I think what it was is you got the pitch control. So obviously that tells you, I'm at 1, 2, whatever. But I think it's a better accuracy because this little red light, which you can't really see on the camera, but that little red light is like some sort of quartz light that has a frequency. And so the timing of that is like super precise. Whereas this, you can't tell between 0 and 1 where you are, really. But with that, apparently, if you're trained at doing that, you can know. And so if you have little stickers on your records where 130, 130, or 130, 126, and in theory, if you're a wizard, you can look at the dots on the 2 tables and get them precisely matched, or do it by ear, like the rest of us.
Wow.
Or just don't do it anymore.
But that's kind of fun, right?
That was We're gonna do today.
Thanks for giving me a reason to bring that up.
I know, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have been struggling probably to come up with much that was we hadn't, all the 3 of us hadn't.
It was definitely it was just really fun to be part of that club for a minute because it was definitely a special thing, Like music selection was curated up for you by your city, by certain people. Like Marky Clark was my record dealer for a long time.
Well, that's a good point, right?
And I always give him credit because he got to know me, what I liked, and show up and be like, here's do this and here's do that. Here's a bunch of stuff I like and I think you'd like, and I always go out there like box of records. And it was like, people like him that really curated sound for the city because of his giving music in our hands, and it was different. Now we all have access to everything. So now it doesn't really, there's not like a certain sound.
The taste makers aren't, the taste makers aren't in the same, they're not the same way anymore. I think I read somewhere, basically, we're in an age now where your audience knows more about what you're doing than you do. And what that means... What that means is that because we're artists and we work on the music we want to work on, we don't have a bandwidth.
Yeah.
Our fans, on the other hand, can watch everything and look at everything and be at work. Some of our fans, some of our people that we know out there, some of the people watching this show right now, they listen to mixes all day long.
It's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
All day, like you go in their car, they've got mixes. They go in their house, they've got mixes, and and so they know more about what every DJ in the world's playing than we do. Yep. They know more about, and they'll know more. They'll be like, "Oh, that's the new blah blah blah," and you're like, "Wait, you're a fan of the music. How do you know more about it than we do?" And it's just an era that we live in now, where the fans will know more because we have to focus, and our fans don't. I went and looked at techno songs on Beatport the other day, and there were 720,000 songs.
Well,
what am I supposed to do? I mean, I got to 3,400 of them.
That's why they had to invent the Beatport Pro app, right? So
that's what I'm using.
Faster and whatever.
Yeah, it's still.
We all love Joe P. He's a good example. He's very vocal about like never playing the same song twice. And you can. But it's absurd. Like, I mean, it's cool that he does it, but it's absurd that you even can do that. Like, you don't. it's that much coming out.
Oh yeah, definitely that much.
I have a hard time. I don't know. I feel like sometimes people want to hear the songs more than once because you kind of train them, and then when you play it again, they're like, "Yeah, that song.
I
love it when you play that song." You know, sometimes it's good to like,
I have no problem playing songs more than once.
Yeah.
It's also good to bring songs back.
Yeah.
We're allowed to bring them back now too.
When I make mixes, I try not to put it more than once, like a song in more than one mix.
Well, then you can just pre-record it.
Yeah.
No, but that makes sense. Well, that's an interesting balance, you know, because like that actually, I didn't think about that too much until I would travel and DJ, and that's, for me, that was different than the residency, because what I started to realize was that a promoter, if they know you through DJing, that's one thing. If they know you through music you've made and you're a DJ, then they respect your DJ skills or whatever as well. But they're bringing you because people know your music. And so when you travel around, what I realized was it's like, I mean, I don't play the same thing every time, but I did start to realize like, oh, there's certain songs that I'm probably going to have to play every time because people want to hear them. And so as much for me,
different place every time, so
as much for me as a DJ as I was like, I don't really totally want to do that. Like I always, as my DJ head is going, push the edge, push the edge, push the edge. It's like, yeah, but there may be fans that the only reason they came that night, like, was to hear whatever, two songs that you know are popular.
People do want to hear the same songs. Maybe not all the same songs.
It's a little boring, maybe. No, you're right. I mean, it gets a little boring maybe for the person that produced it, but it's not for them because that's the only time they're going to hear you play it, maybe ever. And there's an interesting connection there. It goes back to like the human piece you were talking about, right? It's different than hearing that song 100 times if they went that crazy and listened 100 times throughout the year. And there's the one time you come to play a show and you play that again. Like that cemented. It took me a while like to realize, oh, as a fan, I'm like that. Right? Like I always have been. If there's a song you get super stoked on, whether it's a band or a DJ or a producer,
you get excited.
You go because you're like, dude, I love that one song. And then they don't play it, like if they don't play it, you're like, wah, wah. Played a lot of cool stuff, but I really wish they would have played Busy Child.
There's that Busy Child. 20 years, that song.
Yeah, it's
20 years. Yeah, that was amazing when I saw that email go out.
Yeah, I think that's why they did the box set. I think
it is why they did the
20
box set.
year, you know.
I'm gonna hit him up. I'm
awesome. Yeah, dude.
Hey, dude.
Tom's jealous. I would have never thought not that you're jealous now, but I would have never thought there was anything I could have brought out here with you two awesome musically historical people. It's wow you.
That's a wild thing. I found out
the box set and the quartz light on the turntable, dude.
The one of the most expensive records in my collection is my unopened copy of Vegas. Cool. I didn't need to open it. I already had the 12s. So he gave me. I have the copy they gave me.
Awesome.
When I was remember City of Angels.
Yeah.
That's how I got that. That was sent to me.
Yeah.
Uber Zone.
The label.
What's up with Q?
You talking about the label?
Uber Zone. Where are you?
Shout out Q. Where'd you go?
Dude, where'd you go, bro? Like, don't get disappointed. Just put a 4/4 in there.
He dropped the mic on Electro Breaks. Right?
Yeah, dude. Come back. Put a 4/4 in there. We're good, man. Techno
came out, blew it up, and just plunk.
Yeah,
and left.
I
think I never heard a single thing after that. You go to his Facebook page, it's like 9 years ago. There's like a post that's blown up, and it's the post is like, I'm thinking about making some new music.
Yeah, no one liked it because his Facebook page, so he got disappointed. He didn't pay for people to see that he said.
Didn't boost your post, bro.
He didn't boost it, so he got disappointed. And Facebook's really that hard.
What do you think about all that? Well, let's dig on those gears a little bit.
Facebook,
come on,
dude,
just a little bit. I saw somebody. Here's my entry point to this discussion. Aside from AI and all that bullshit, and I'm gonna move the turntable. We're all gonna be like, that's going on mine. I'm gonna be like, did somebody learn about turntable? So I saw this post
Oh my god.
By the way, folks watching, that is one of the pair. It's the only turntables I've ever owned.
Yeah,
I noticed first, and those are the ones I learned on, and it's why they'll always, like, I can't get rid of them.
Yeah, you know what those? I noticed that they were the MK2s.
Yeah.
Those, which I have a pair of as well. So
they're back there, man.
They're OG.
They're back there. That's no eBay special right there. Those have been in a lot of apartments and houses. But yeah, so the Facebook thing. So I saw someone post today, don't remember who it was, about algorithms. I think it was Eric Rigsby. Hey, there's the reason to mention Eric Rigsby.
Oh my god.
Friend of ours from San Francisco. So he, yeah, it was him. He was like, algorithms. And he said something like, he's like, am I getting old or whatever? What exactly is an algorithm? He's like, and is it taking over society or something?
Is it a new dance?
Right. And then he was like, is it a new dance? You know, and then a bunch of people comment and stuff.
It is.
But
you have to be likable.
It is a dance.
You have to engage people. You have to really care about your brand. You know, I see so many people get discouraged because they put me, you know, like, it's hard to remember when you're a person that you're a brand too.
Yeah.
So people will post their, you know, like a lot of DJs I know, post on their profile all day long, and they forget to share their event on their page. You have to be like, hey, can you maybe share your gig this weekend on your page?
I shared it. And like, well, wait, no, on your page.
Yeah, on your page. And then you do it, and then it's crickets, and then I'm like, well, you get discouraged.
There's definitely some crickets.
So you're like, well, if you post once a month, you know, you just have to like.
You're engaged. There's a word they call the word engage, and it's real.
Yeah.
Engage in content.
Yeah, the thing is you don't. I mean, it's not like I try to keep up with it.
And I like my own posts.
Yeah, and it's like I like my own posts.
You gotta bait everybody.
I like my own posts. It's all good. Yeah, but you know, what amazes me about it is like something will get, you know, you can see a little metrics or something on there, and like an unboosted post, like sometimes, you know, they vary for reasons why people or time of day or whatever, people can see it, and it, you know, some will get whatever. Let's just say it's something, you know, moderate, like 10 or 20 likes and a comment or two, something like that, right? Like that'll happen with music I make. And it's like you're almost like, well, nobody cares about that song. Like that's what you know. It's kind of the mental game of it. Is like, oh, 20. Like so you associate this 20 likes with like that's all that saw it.
Right.
Basically, you know, like there's this mental thing. I think psychological thing, right?
It's easy to keep pushing yourself.
But it's not the case, though. But it's also not the case because what happens is it's like all kinds of stuff can happen from that is really like the way it probably should be happening. So like maybe 20 people liked it, maybe 300 or 400 saw it at all in a feed, and may or may not have listened if it was an audio or a video with audio in it, which is what I usually post. And then the thing you don't know, which I think is really cool, is like you don't know, number one, usually, unless you go digging into every one of them, which I don't, like the stats, like you don't really, you know like where those people were per se. I mean, you can go find it, but I'm just saying you're not going to spend all that time on every post probably to go look at the country,
but
you know, demographic. That's what I'm saying.
You know
like it would drive me crazy if I was doing that. I know I can do it, but I don't like maybe twice a year I'll go and look and be like, holy shit, there's people in South Korea that are, you know, like 450 unique people from South Korea looked at my music this year. That's kind of awesome. Like that's kind of fun, but I don't do it on a daily basis. But it is neat that we can get that information. But the point I was going to say is like, even whether it's a daily or an annual basis kind of thing, what you don't know is really who saw it and like what, even if you knew who saw it, like what did they then go say to their friends? Right, because that's where the real social network kicks
really
in.
Know what you're looking at or what's being reached.
Yeah,
you know?
I think
a lot of
the
numbers are a little bit fluff.
Yeah.
I think it's a little. I don't know. I don't trust
we have direct experience that there's fluff.
Yeah, for sure.
And they change their things. Like
and they ask you.
I feel like I work really hard at doing things organically, and I have lots of tricks about Facebook pages because we've been using them for so long.
Yeah,
and I've been.
Here's you know what the trick is. Compelling content, guys.
Yeah, make something
it's consistently good. Compelling content.
Yeah.
Consistently, so that the algorithm that you're talking about wants content.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist. There's no algorithm if there's nothing up there.
Who to show it to if you don't, you have,
don't have anything to show.
Something to work with first, and then it's. I think it's.
And it wants different kinds of things too. It doesn't want just all one thing.
I think Facebook's made us a little lazy. When's the last time we've gotten a flyer for a party? And that's not bad.
That I didn't make.
I'm just saying, you probably have flyers.
That I used to make little ones.
But stickers and stuff. That's cool. But I feel like we've gotten like, I'm a promoters with DJs, and it's a lot of, I shared it, and that's all the effort people do. I'm like,
well, I shared it on the internet. I'm like, well,
yeah. My feed. I said I'm playing. Okay.
Gosh.
I don't think people realize how few people see that stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
yeah,
I think the act of posting it in an uncompelling way is it's not a whole lot more effort. Or maybe it is if you're not creative. I guess it could be. But then again, that's the case with everything in life. That's the case with everything in life, right? Yeah.
I always feel like I don't want to DJ to nobody, so I want people there. So that's my goal. Try.
You heard it from the mouth of Red Sonya.
She doesn't really want to DJ.
She doesn't want to DJ to nobody.
So it'd be nice if you show up when she does. So we'll try to get the word out as best we can.
That's the quote of the day. I don't want to DJ to nobody, so I try to get the word out. Yeah, there's your reason to promote yourself and respect what you've built, right? And understand that people enjoy it.
Yeah, it's challenging. I'm like, people come and go, like I've been DJing for a while, and there's definitely reasons why people will go out. And so you know what I mean? They're single friends, and they you know what I mean? Then they go into the family life, and they don't really see them again. There's just certain reasons why people go out.
So speaking like future social media business, I got a thing that not a lot of things grind my gears. They're more just interesting and to figure out. But one of the things that I think, hey, Zuckerberg, listen to this, and everybody else that runs these social empires. And I thought about it when you said the thing where, people meet, they hook up, get married, whatever, the scene moves on, blah, blah, but you maybe still be DJing, right? Like
and there's new people coming in.
So there's a problem with this, though, with social media, because speaking of the algorithms, what happens is you're over time, new people find you, collect, like your page, whatever. Well, as those people become inactive, there's no way to get rid of them off your page. There is no way other than manually in Facebook, like, for example, right? So you could have a whole dead sector of people there that are fans of your page, for example, or even friends.
Or maybe they really like you've seen everything you do, but they're never going to go.
Fine.
You know what I mean? That's
whatever the reason is, if it's they've moved on or they don't like you now, or they do love you and they just aren't online.
Yeah.
They don't interact anymore, but they'll go to your show. So like that, basically inactivity. Mm-hmm. So the problem on the algorithm side, which is a very clear issue, is that if you've amassed a following on any of the social media services, and you don't have a way to sort of clean up the inactive, then the algorithm takes into account as a percentage of your following. That's one of the ways that they rate if your content is good or not.
I feel like something's
and that's
happening.
A problem.
You remind me a little bit. I feel like that's what's going on with when you invite people to events on Facebook.
Yeah.
I think that they score you. Say if I keep inviting someone that's never going, then it won't show them. It won't invite them anymore.
It would make sense, yeah, because it's like bugging them. It's like borderline spam.
Right.
So it starts downgrading you because
I get the notification all the time, like, please select people that want to attend. And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm on my Facebook, almost everybody I met at a bar.
Right.
I think they want to go.
I mean, it's not about me, but I think they want to.
I'm on Facebook. Trust me, I'm not inviting my mom.
Yeah.
I don't want her to be there. Oh, hi, mom. You know what I mean? She's not gonna go.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to get better at that. Tom's like, why did you invite that person? They're not going to go. I'm like, but they like me, and I think that they want to.
Well, there's true spam, and maybe not. But
I mean, they like, and that's not it.
By the way, I appreciate your invites. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but I do appreciate it. I don't get out to a lot of stuff.
And I can't invite that many people, so anybody who gets invited to anything on Facebook should feel special that I even think about you.
If you get a text from me, seriously, you can respond even if you can't go. Just
I enjoy
say hi,
and I always answer you.
I know he does. This guy answers. Yeah. I have some responses.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know how we're going to deal with that in the future because
I'm going to text you. Send me your numbers.
It's an algorithm. That is an algorithm problem. There's an algorithm problem for you, Eric Rigsby, because that's a true one. There's definitely spam. There's definitely people who aren't considerate of a lot of these things. But there is also that issue of the inactivity portion.
You know what, Wes? No, not really. There's programs for that. Just programs to unfollow.
There is no way to automatically.
Yeah, there is.
You send it to me because I've looked.
What is that thing
On
called?
Facebook?
What is that thing called that we use to like show you? You might have to physically.
I have one
unfollow
for friends. I've one for friends on the profile. I have a plugin for that.
Yeah.
But on the
I think
artist
that's
page,
what I think you're thinking of the Twitter and the Instagram. It's really easy to find out who's like not following you, or
on the artist page for Facebook, and I think they actually do this on purpose. And here's why: because although you can do ads on every platform, it's not near as easy as we know to do it. Like Twitter, probably the next easiest, but Instagram is owned by Facebook now. But Instagram, and now it's easier because of that. But Snapchat, these things, they don't make it near as easy to do an ad, right? And that's not even their model. They're waiting to get bought by Facebook or Google or whatever. So it's because Facebook knows that you realize, well, if I want to reach a targeted audience, forget about the people that follow my actual page. If I just want to reach an audience and try to get 1,000 likes or whatever the exposure is, right, on that new product, new song, new mix, new whatever video, then you got to run an ad, and you learn that and you know that, which is what happens. So they definitely do not let you remove from an artist page. If anybody knows, please let us know. But as far as I know, there is no way other than manual. And so what happens is you go in and if you got 30,000.
And you have like 35,000.
Yeah. So I have to go. I go into that.
It makes no sense.
I go into that section. There's no tool to just look by inactive. Like I have a plugin for that on the profile. Clean off inactive friends or dead accounts, stuff like that. Doesn't exist on the thing. Several people made them, and Facebook changed the technology to ban them from
a lot
doing
of fake and inactive
tons.
fans.
And they know it.
Well, there's several classes. There's fake likes.
They're selling you ads to those people.
Right.
Yeah, that's what's going on, right? Yeah. So that's my point. Is like,
that's why you got to be really active with your content.
Where like people did like farms and stuff and amassed 1 million or 10 million or whatever, and it's all bullshit. But like that's none of what's on mine. Like I've promoted posts before, I've done whatever, but it's been over years, and then that collects. And then my point is like, there's no way. Because I know that I have to pay sometimes for ads because it's taking into account that out of 30,000, whatever, there's a portion, like you said, of inactives that it's like I'm spamming them, right? But I'm not. I would love to get rid of them. I would love to be like, oh, these people haven't liked or anything for a year, so I'll just clean off 20%. Like I would do that regularly if there was a way for me to do it. So if someone knows, let me know.
Right.
You get what you pay for.
I love it. Well, Kelly already knows because she helps me do a lot of the social media
funny.
content. Anyway.
You're Kelly. You're so onto it right there. You get what you pay for. So, I recommend to people. I would actually reach out away from Facebook.
I agree.
Stop Facebooking. Get everybody's phone numbers.
Really
get their emails.
How many numbers you don't have, and really.
So if you have friends, like if they're your friends, then text them.
Yeah.
Call them, send them an email. We're always here, and it's like we have these radio stations. Like our pages are these radio stations that people may or may not be listening to at any time. We're just talking into the dark. Hi.
Like now. That's why we have Kelly. It's why we have Kelly come from New York. So we have one listener.
Yeah, absolutely, Kelly. And we sit around. She's cooking. Wants to hear us.
Laundry.
I'm sitting here with the cutoff frequency.
Tom's lost in the accelerator, the alienator.
Sonic alienator.
Well, yeah. So my Facebook rant is like, I realize it's free. That's cool. I get that. I'm not worried about that. But honestly, I would, and I have different channels just like y'all do as well, because I realize that like a lot of people have that's not going to solve all your problems, or get everyone to your party or whatever. Yeah. It does suck a little more when you go out of town because you don't know those people as closely as you're going to know like your San Diego or Southern California like friends you actually see and all that. So if you go to a place once a year out of town, like I know for a fact, I can see, like I know with the sections of which cities, it's partly how you kind of approach, like if you know promoters in those places, whatever, it's kind of, you can use that because there's people there that know.
You're saying if you could see how many, where cities your fans live.
Yeah. I'm not bitching. I know it's free. I'm just saying like I would actually advertise more probably if I could get some better tools to make sure that what's there is real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess that's my point. So it's not bitching about it being
that's what conversions
free.
are for.
It's more about saying, hey, I would do more with it if I had a little more control over what was actually
conversion
there.
tracking.
Yeah, I agree, and I do that.
And that's where that's your next step. But you're right.
Agreed.
And what, are
But
we
you got to
really,
run an ad.
wait a
You have
minute.
to run an ad
Hold on a
to
second.
utilize the conversion tracking.
Are we sitting here as artists talking about conversion tracking and ads?
Yeah, dude.
I'm not talking about ads.
I mean, seriously though,
But that's my point. Is the only conversion tracking is with an ad.
This era we live in,
Yeah.
and it's everybody's on Facebook, and sometimes I think it's actually really cool and useful. It's been fun.
People are crazy.
Promoting techno.
People are crazy if they say they don't
it's,
run an ad. That's bullshit. Everybody's running an ad. If you're doing anything, you've run an ad at some point.
Some people don't even want to go anywhere near it.
Agreed, but
some people don't have profiles.
Pages,
well, it may not be an ad on Facebook, but it's an ad somewhere. You pay to play. It's a business. Like if you're out there making a nickel, there's some level of promotion and brand awareness and whatever. Right. That's not new. That's always been a piece of the pie, right? It's no different than back in the day when DJ Dan figured out how to get on the cover of Mix Mag US, right? I mean, I'm not saying he paid to do it. Mad respect for him. I'm just saying there's some element of exertion that's not towards making music or playing music that is required to get on the cover of a magazine, as an example. That's all I'm saying, right? You could be the most awesome person in the world, and he's an awesome person. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like you have to. There's some way that you arrived at that. It didn't just show up with a camera on your door one morning and fucking, we're gonna put you on the cover.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It was different too. There was more of an industry, a music industry.
Agreed.
Now it's
and smaller.
You are
smaller.
an industry, in and of to yourself. Yep. As an artist now, you have to do the art. You have to do the marketing.
Yeah.
And before there were teams before. I think Noel Gallagher did a really great rant the other day online. You look him up. He's talking about he's making tea, and he says
Moby did that.
He says, "I used to have 4 people make me my freaking tea."
I saw
like that. To me, that
now he's making his own.
Now he's making his own tea, and so he's like, you guys who downloading all your music for free, kind of that download diatribe. I mean, he needed to be speaking that diatribe needs to not be directed at us consumers.
Yeah.
That diatribe needed to go to the record industry. The record industry is absolutely responsible for what they did. They took, when they had an opportunity to do something for us, they decided to do it for themselves. And at the end, their karma got them. And what I mean is that they decided, they had a choice, you guys. The music industry, I'm going to tell you something that's going to probably blow your mind a little bit. When CDs came out, you all remember how expensive they were.
Yeah.
They were absolutely way cheaper to make and to distribute and to do everything cheaper than cassettes by a magnitude.
Yeah.
So instead of them selling us
like 80 cents.
Yeah, not even 80 cents.
I'm talking everything.
Yeah,
art, packaging, all of it. Not just
$1.
a disc.
So that exactly right.
Let's give him $1.
Yes, the music industry got greedy, and instead of charging us, $8.99 for cassettes like they were. I remember specifically. I'm dating myself a little bit, but I watched it firsthand.
You could get the single.
You could get the single, and they did have the cassette singles. And you could get that for $1.99 or whatnot.
Shout out to the
cassette. The reality, you guys. The reality though is that those CDs should have been $2.
Yeah.
$3.50.
Yeah.
$4. $5 for the new album. If they would have sold those records, those CDs for $5, not $20, and now we would be sitting at. No one would have ever ripped off anything.
Yeah. Now the software companies have essentially taken, or several of them, right, as Spotify. They're basically software companies. So. Right, as opposed to a traditional music record, and that's a whole struggle there. I made a post the other day on it. It just blew my mind, man. Like I saw that. It just made me laugh. Mostly is I'm reading this article about Spotify, and then intertwined in that is some references to Pandora and a couple other music services, digital radio, whatever. SoundCloud got pulled in there as a reference, but it was centered around Spotify and their growth and all this stuff. And it was like, I think the number was $3 billion. And I couldn't help but laugh because they were saying that they hope to be profitable this year. And someone was saying that, and the reference from Spotify in the discussion, there was a quote pulled from like an interview or something. And it was like, they're not profitable yet. What does it take? And they're like, well, we understand that it's a global thing and it's a scaling issue. And I thought, 3 billion, and you still have a scaling issue of all the revenue coming in, and it's very clear that artists are getting next to nothing. What on earth is broken about that?
Well,
right, and they didn't show
of
financial statements and all. You know, it's not it's a private company. But I just thought it just made me laugh. Like how do you have anything generating $3 billion and still need to scale before you can either A, be profitable, and or which means pay artists? And I understand where they're coming from. You know, part of where they're coming from is that they're getting raked by labels to get to use the music in the first place. You know, that cut. So there's a lot of dynamics here. It's not all on Spotify. That's not my point. But just in general, whoever's involved, all the people except the artists are getting a large chunk of that 3 billion or 20 or whatever it is, right? Yeah. And then the answer is you still need to scale, right? Because whatever artists are getting paid, you do 10 million plays, you get $1, right? Something like that. Mm-hmm. It's like worthless. It's all marketing exposure, basically. It's definitely not money, right? It's not a revenue. It's not a money stream. So you're better off go play a local gig or something, you know, a happy hour. And so like, so I'm just saying, if it's $1, 1 million plays, you get $1, and they're not profitable. Okay, fine. When they're profitable, what's it gonna like? You know, you're gonna get $1.10 per 1 million plays. Like they'll shave a little piece of the now found profit. It's just broken. My point was I laugh because it's broken. It's clearly broken, right? Like if you can't, if it's so messed up that between the licensing and the labels and the 12 middlemen, that you can't carve off more than $1 for 1 million plays, right? Like out of a 3 billion, you know, like, I mean, I get it. And I'm not, you know, I've done a lot of business stuff, so I'm not just speaking bullshit out of the air. Like,
no, you're not.
There's numbers here that don't make sense if you're generating that kind of revenue. For the answer to be, we still need to do some scaling to get profitable. It's like, oh, wow. Clearly the model is not a slam dunk, is my point, right? Like,
music, you know, is not a slam dunk.
It's not the network effects problem, you know?
No, music is not a slam dunk.
Yeah.
You don't know. We never know. And now music is lost.
So was it overpriced? Maybe this is a good question for a music person. Let's say before CD, before cassette. Let's just say vinyl record.
No, that was fine. No, that was normal.
Thing, $10 for an album. It's got 2 vinyl records in it. Nice artwork, all the lyrics. Was it worth $10?
Yes.
I think yes.
It was totally. It was, and the label, the artists were making money.
Right.
So for instance,
a lot of money.
We did a record. The 4,000 units on our record.
And nobody complained about that artist making money. Like
Never.
Fans were like, cool.
Yeah.
They were like, that's cool. Like you made an awesome album. That's awesome. Good for you. We're a fan, right?
Yeah. Well, now we're having a hard time getting the $100 payout for whatever services we're putting out our music on. Yeah. Like you said. When it kind of hit me at home. I got more than $100 for a happy hour recently, so it kind of made me laugh when you said happy hour DJ slots. I'm like, oh yeah, really?
I see. I undersold you. I said 50. I undersold you. It's 100.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that
I mean, you might get $50 to play for an hour at Firehouse on their Sunset Friday, right?
Or whatever.
A lot of DJs. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing. Yeah. That's a whole other. When I'm going to go there.
We'll go down the music industry rabbit hole another day.
Because that's.
I know, right? We could do this all night.
There's so many fun things that we can dive down.
Well, the music industry is definitely something that I watched firsthand implode on itself.
And this is good. I'm gonna note to self on this one.
It really.
We'll come back sometime and bore everyone to death.
Oh, you guys.
We'll come back sometime and sound super old.
Warner Brothers. Yeah. All you guys.
But I think we'll do that. We'll bring some numbers, though. I'll do more research if we actually get together and talk industry, because I think it is important to not just throw FUD out there bitching about the music business, It's not like that. Like I've done enough business over the years to just have a gut feeling that clearly the model's not working. Right? Like, will it ever work again? Maybe not. But the reason
it comes down to performances, really.
Yeah,
you know,
it
how
absolutely
much are
does.
DJs getting
It
paid to
absolutely
play?
does.
You know, thousands of dollars
Totally.
for an hour set. You know what I mean? Like
the only problem I have there, I'm fine as a DJ, so that's fine. But the unfortunate part, it's not so much that I have a problem with any of the stuff I said. It's the when I laugh at something like that or whatever, it's the unfortunate part is that there are a lot of really talented musicians, producers that do not perform live. And maybe it's just not their thing, but it doesn't change the fact that they really are the creators that allow DJs to be DJs. And they're the ones that are having to go do something else.
I appreciate that.
Because they can't do anything. And I see comments where people are like, you know, it's not about the money, it's about the music, it's about the love. Yeah, but if you're classically trained or you've spent your whole life, you know, you know, you don't play a little piano after your insurance job or whatever, with all due respect, like that kind of thing. Or you did the high school band and like you've had a 10-year law career and on the side you do a little whatever. Like that's fine and that's all cool, right? And I have multiple ways that I make money. No, and I don't hide that. Like I got my fingers in a number of different things, tech stuff and real estate stuff and whatever. But there is a segment of people that are truly talented live. You know, they can do everything you hear on that record live. You know, Sunshine Jones is a great example. Whoa, mind blowing. But there's the same dollar for million plays for Sunshine Jones as there is for me.
Yeah.
And that is where I just think it's unfortunate, right? Because I can make some good music, but I'm not Sunshine Jones. You know, and I'm not. Pick your list of singer-songwriters you've seen play live. They're like, you know, or a singer. You know, it's even worse for them. You know, it's crazy. It used to be that if you were the songwriter and you were listed as such and copyright, as you may both know, but you certainly experienced, that was the winner right there. You wanted to be the songwriter on the copyright because that's the person.
You always
that got
want writing
paid.
credit. Yeah, you get the
The
writer and the producer both always got paid. Yeah.
Yeah. But that doesn't even really matter anymore because the way a lot of these agreements are done, the tracking's all screwed. Like they don't, like the only way you can get, for example, the statutory songwriting payments is if it's actually tracked. And so since a lot of the businesses of the world that stream music don't, you know, they're private. So they don't, like the rules aren't really there for how they have to comply. So it just goes off into the ether. So you don't really know, like, and then there's different loopholes in the law about, well, streaming's not really a play, you know, like, so you don't get your 3 cents. Like that law was around radio. And so, okay, that made sense, but streaming's not radio. Like that's what it's caught up in. That's why I'm saying it's all broken and screwed. Because there's games being played where like the Spotify or whoever it is streaming model, like they know they can't probably pay the same way you'd pay with radio, and that may be true, but they're also not going to go to great lengths to figure it out so that the creators really get paid. I think that's my concern is we're headed for, and it's far beyond my concern for me. It's the 15-year-old, the 20-year-old, the whoever that is a great musician or will become one and wants to do that as a career so that we as fans of music get the most amazing thing, right, that we remember for a long time. They're not going to exist, you know, if they can't get paid, you know, outside of like going and performing. You can't, right? Like it's easy to be like, oh, you got to perform. It's the way it is nowadays. It's not really. Like there's people that just aren't performers.
The ones that are, you know, there's those people that are making music and touring. You know,
totally.
That's like they're the ones that are able to like really passionate, you know.
Oh yeah,
like you
yeah,
said,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I appreciate
totally
your
agree.
input. You can make a great song. Doesn't mean you're going to go all over the world and play that one song. Like
no, that's
whatever.
Right. That's right. No, it's totally. And they don't want to.
Right.
But yeah,
Exactly.
there's different groups of it. But anyway, that is my biggest concern with my music industry, man. Is more just to. I hope. I guess what it's, you know, I hope, and maybe through some technology, some different things, you know, maybe some of this decentralized computing stuff that's really coming along now, and it's being driven by cryptocurrency stuff right now, but it's that distributed peer-to-peer stuff that's now got a way to monetize it. That didn't exist. Like when Napster, there was no way to monetize the Napster peer-to-peer stuff, right? But now it's changing, right? Through some of this.
Follow me on Viberate.
Yeah, but you know, through the cryptographic stuff and these things, those are like examples of maybe ways that some of this will get changed in the future. You'll still have to have a fan base. You'll still have to do some marketing. You'll still have to have your brand.
You still have to text your friends.
But I agree with you on that line. Like if you text your friends, you do your thing, you have some connection, it probably will surprise people if it's a fair price for creating something awesome. Probably if there's a good way to capture that, which is why I'm talking about some of that new tech. You know, other than putting it in the hands of Spotify or in the hands of Apple Music or whatever, you know, I don't think fans realize, like if you could get the 99 cents that they go pay on iTunes or whatever, if I got the 99 cents or 75 cents, let's just say I got the whole 99 cents off of every song I've sold, every unit I've sold and streamed. Let's say the equivalent of buying a song on Beatport is 100 streams, right? Let's just so it's not the same, right? But 100 streams is worth 99 cents, and you know, to some fan, and then getting the song in their hand to do whatever with is 99 cents. If I got all that on the quantities that I've done over the last just 5 years, I wouldn't do anything else to make money. I would be fully focused on making awesome music. 100%. Like that would be all I'm thinking about. And I do believe if that's all I thought about all the time, I probably would come up with some even cooler stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people out there like that, right?
That's kind of why I haven't been making music, because I'm working.
Right. I can tell you if those were the general numbers, and I'm just saying this because I don't think the average fan either thinks about it, because why should they? Right? They're just at the end, you know,
They're consumers.
Like, like it's not their job to think about that. But I'm just saying, like, if some new things start to evolve where you can have a closer, more direct connection with the DJ for their mix, or the producer for their song, or both, or the artist for their sketches, or whatever it is, in a way that, you know, seems fair for, you know, what you're getting in some way, and you can make that connection and do it. I'm just encouraging people to look out for those things and try to support them as they come along, because it can make a huge difference. Like a small bit of connection, or a small bit of cutting out the Spotify, cutting out the, you know, the giant intermediary, so to speak, and the 12 that come with it, right? Because it's not just Spotify, dude. It's like 3 lawyers on each side. There's those right? You know, right? If you start breaking this down, it's like, you know, you think Spotify is getting the 95 out of a dollar, but it's not. It's like they got to pay lawyers on both sides, every part of the coin. They got to pay the crazy copyright system. They got to pay statutory things. They got to pay, you know, they got regular marketing and business and accounting and all that shit to deal with too. But it's such a hairball because it's so complicated, as you know, that's where all the money's going. So I'm encouraging, if you see or are already part of these new systems evolving where you can have a direct connection with the creator and pay them a micro payment even, which is a lot of the crypto stuff is starting to allow that. Do it. That's my that's my call to action.
That's a whole other talk.
Whole nother episode. Whole nother episode.
Totally.
See you in a year. Yeah.
But awesome. Well, cool.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Listen to me rant some. Listen to Tom rant a little bit.
You know, I've been doing this long enough to have some rants.
Sonya kept it level.
She's cool.
Go check out. When's your next show? When's the next?
This Saturday is Lady Lusha Blonde Bar. It's our holiday party. Laura Peck and Nikki Genesis and
Sweet.
And me.
Awesome.
And then Tom's got his Techno night every Tuesday, Blonde. We're going to Hawaii next month for the Tropical Oasis Retreat.
Sweet.
Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. You're gonna be seeing a lot of that in the next month.
In my feed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna put that on here.
I like
You
it.
want to go to Hawaii?
I like it.
Yeah.
You do the right amount.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You know, just
So
some
many
just some
things.
feedback.
I know.
you know.
I'm trying to gotta rotate all the content.
Some people
There's a
tell
lot.
me that sometimes, and I appreciate it, like, because there's a balance.
Yeah, for sure. Give me feedback. Because we have Native Alien, Lady Lush, and Sonya Alien Tom. It's like 4 brands, and then you have
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. It's a lot to keep up with sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to get back into Twitter a little bit.
I dig it. Me too.
It's kind of cool.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And of course, contact.
I have to think a lot less. And contact. No. We'll put all that stuff. We'll put all that stuff in the front of the notes, so they don't have to listen to us ramble for 2 hours to hear that. Your Christmas party, your holiday party.
It's Christmas party. We didn't kill Christmas here in San Diego.
We have not. We have not.
It's San Diego. We're not gonna kill Christmas. So other places in California might have. But
real quick, Agent 137. I know you have a couple of big events coming up. Spout them out, and we'll put them in the front of the notes as well.
Well, tonight I'm gonna go see the meteor shower.
Nice.
I'm gonna get up on the roof and try and see some meteors. And then the 30th, I'm doing Fault Line in San Francisco, and on the 1st, starting at 6 a.m. Breakbeat Champions.
Breakbeat Champions this year.
Cool.
Awesome. Fantastic. Peace, Cowboys.
I'm going to be in San Francisco until the 8th of January. So,
okay, cool.
We're trying to get up there as well. We want to make a visit. We love San Francisco. We love the Bay Area.
Are you coming when I'm going to be there?
I don't know. I have a friend who lives up there who's just recently up there and said to come visit. So
awesome.
Maybe after Hawaii.
Maybe after Hawaii.
More traveling.
Kelly, I'm going to blow up your news feeds, your social feeds. Since I'm not doing anything the rest of the year, I'm going to stay here and be in San Diego and move. I'm moving. That's one thing I'm doing, closer to the beach. As if I'm not close enough, I'm going to move closer.
I think we're moving too.
Yeah, I think we're moving too.
But I'm going to blow up your newsfeed, Kelly, and promote your.
I think that's one of the things that help too. As far as like social media is concerned, besides just texting your friends and that, but like we've teamed up with a couple people across the country and just people that we support and what they do, and obviously this is a part of it, but getting people to just share things and not just their own stuff, but their other people's stuff too, because like you said, people are listening to all kinds of mixes and all that. So if you introduce them to somebody that they might not normally listen to, then that helps them out. And then, I don't know, we try and do it like a little domino effect. Help everybody out.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
Word up.
Yeah.
I'm all about some Agent 137 promotion in December. I'm going to do the 12 days of Agent 137.
That would be awesome. Thanks.
We'll see. Maybe not go that crazy, but.
Why not? You need something that's compelling. I need content that's consistent. So
right.
Christmas sounds like compelling.
Oh, compel you!
Yeah, right. It's a weird word, but it's definitely a weird word,
right, dude? Well, I got that photo thing. Oh, it's coming at you. All right. Thank you, Kelly, for hanging out, doing your dishes while making sure our audio and video stay running. And
never did dishes. I was here the whole time.
Glad you're feeling better. She mutes us. You didn't know that? She just mutes us.
Yeah.
And stay classy, yo.
Yeah, awesome.
Let's go. Thanks, guys. Bye.